Demon Slayer, the Undead Swordsman of Thunder. Chapter 1. Peach Mountain. The March wind is gentle, caressing the peach forest like a mother's hand. Peach blossoms bloom and fall, like butterflies dancing. A pink petal fell on the nose of the boy under the peach tree. He held his hands behind his head, breathing evenly, drooling from the corners of his mouth, and occasionally making a few sleepy sounds. Normal wife, stick with me, hee hee hee. Silly Wazan, take my whip and get the wisteria flower, the red sword windmill, and the poisonous sunbathing package. Such a good time, it's another day for Tiandao Fiuchen to daydream. He has a dark red short hair, a fair face, and looks harmless. You little bastard, you are lazy again, do you want to piss off your teacher to death? A violent rebuke sounded, and then a wooden sword flew out from the lush peach branches in the distance, and the breath emitted by the wooden sword rolled up thousands of peach blossoms. Just when Tiandao Fiuchen was about to be shot in the head, he tilted his head slightly, and the wooden sword pierced into the peach tree. His golden eyes slowly opened, and he stretched lazily and said lazily, "Old man, there are only a few moves, what's the point of practicing? I can beat you with that thing even when I'm sleeping. Also, are you my real master? Go for the kill." He pointed helplessly at the wooden sword beside his head. The sword was already 3 points into the wood, and it would definitely kill someone if it hit his head. If I'm not your master, who would be? Otherwise, why did I pick you up in the first place? Is it for nothing? Stinky boy, I know you have talent, but if you don't work hard, you'll waste your good talent. Go practice with the sword. Tiandao Fiuchen saw a little old man, who was about the same height as him when he was 12 years old. The old man has thick eyebrows and big eyes, a long mustache, and white hair and beard. He looks like someone who is not easy to mess with. His right leg is a prosthesis, so he can only use a cane. The old man's name is Kawashima Jigoro. He is the former sound pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps. After his right leg was broken, he lived in seclusion in Doshin and became a trainer. 12 years ago, he picked up a baby at the foot of Doshin. That baby was Tiandao Fiuchen. What the old man didn't know was that the little baby's body was hosting a soul that did not belong to this world. "Old man, let's practice later." Tiandao Fiuchen showed a pitiful smile and begged. Perhaps because he was a time traveler, he had an extraordinary talent in kendo, coupled with his keen perception. It is not an exaggeration to say that he was born for the sword. No, if you don't swing the sword 1,000 times today, you are not allowed to eat. Swinging the sword is the foundation. If the foundation is not solid, the sword will not be stable. Fei Yuzhen felt that the old man was going to start nagging again, so he decisively chose to run away. "Old man, I finished swinging in the morning. Now it's time to rest. Bye, you." Hearing this, Kawashima Jigoro's mouth twitched, and he thought of the scarecrow holding a wooden sword and wearing clothes on the top of the mountain. If he hadn't really taken a look, he would have believed it. His apprentice is good in everything, but he is too casual and lazy. You cheated me with a moving wooden man. I don't know how you developed a moving little man. If you have the ability, don't go to a good place. I must beat you. Fei Yuzhen's face darkened, and he thought to himself that it was not good. He was discovered and ran away quickly. As soon as he ran, a golden lightning left a thick trail in the peach forest. "Old man, you don't have martial ethics, why do you still use sword skills? You are playing a trick." Fei Yuzhen's face fell and he protested. "Although my legs are crippled, it's still easy to catch you." Kwangdao Jigoro pressed his apprentice's shoulders with a kind face, holding the wooden sword in the other hand, and his tone was stern with a bit of the taste of a hero who is not old. Fei Yuzhen used his special skill, the thigh-hugging technique, to try to awaken the master's kindness. "Master, I have depended on you since I was a child. If you kill me, who will take care of you in your old age? Master, my kind, strong, loving and handsome master." Fei Yuzhen was in tears, moving him with emotion and reasoning. Kwangdao Jigoro always felt that something was wrong. Why did he have to take care of him in his old age? "Don't you want me to be good? Today, I'll show you what it means to be a good disciple under a strict teacher." Thunder breathing one form thunderbolt flash. "Ah, ah!" Soon, screams echoed in the peach forest. "Master, master! It hurts. Old man, if you're like this, we'll have to talk about the tea you had with Grandma Yamamoto in the town below." Since he was beaten, Fei Yuzhen started to dig up the old man's dirt. That was because I helped her, she thanked me. What's your tone, as if I did something wrong? Kyujima Jigoro immediately retorted, and at the same time, the knife in his hand became faster, but he didn't do it seriously, otherwise how could a little kid still be alive and kicking under the pursuit of the pillar? It's okay, I don't mind having more masters' wives, the mother-in-law is very nice, and she always makes delicious food for me. Fei Yuzhen said something exaggerated. Thunder breathing type 2. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man's sword skills became more and more fierce, and he was barely able to dodge it, and it was not far from being beaten up. Ah! Murder, arson, robbery. No one would hear Fei Yuzhen even if he shouted at the top of his throat. After all, there were only the master and apprentice on the huge doshin. Although the old man's knife was getting faster and faster, every knife had a purpose. He was training Fei Yuzhen's reaction ability. He had to admit that this guy's perception was not what a human should have. Having been a trainer for decades, Tiandao's qualifications were terrifying, just like the Son of God. Grandpa, you're going too far, I want to. What do you want, traitor? Grandpa Kawashima's temper was unbearable, and he and Yukiko were innocent. I'll just hide, anyway you can't hit me a few times. Fei Yuzhen turned his head and stuck out his tongue, with a little sarcasm in his tone. Hey, you dare to mock me, I think you're bold. The sunset was setting, and the delicate peach blossoms were covered with a layer of red frost. On the top of the mountain, the young one was running, and the old one was chasing with a knife. This was a day of Doshin's teacher's kindness and disciples' filial piety. Finally, Tiandao Fei Yuzhen was tired of running, and most importantly, he was hungry. He sat down on the ground, whispered softly, with a childish tone, and said with a smile. Grandpa, I was wrong. In an instant, the wooden sword stopped in mid-air, the old man turned his head, his cheeks slightly red, pretending to be angry, and snorted coldly. Humph! I'll beat you again tomorrow, go home for dinner. Kyujima Jigoro turned and walked towards the wooden house halfway up the mountain, feeling happy because he was called Grandpa. The child who was raised by a lot of shit and piss is waiting for this grandpa. Fei Yuzhen smiled secretly, the old man is like this, strict on the surface, but soft-hearted. The word grandpa has been tried and tested. Alas, this arrogant old man. He patted his butt and stood up, thinking about how to kill the bastard Gyoyu, and it would be best if he couldn't become a disciple of the old man. It's enough for his junior brother to have Zenitsu. Chapter 2. In the evening, the sun gradually sank to the west, casting the last rays of afterglow on the earth. This layer of fiery red light covered the earth like a veil, and the small wooden house on the hillside was cut out by the afterglow of the setting sun. Kawahima Jigoro brought a large bowl of steaming rice and placed it on the wooden table in front of the yard. He shouted to the house. Zhen, eat. Oh. Fei Yuzhen responded, and saw a figure as nimble as a monkey swinging down from the roof. Why are you climbing on the roof when you have nothing to do? Kawahima Jigoro said unhappily. While speaking, he served himself a bowl of rice, and then pushed the whole bowl of rice in front of his apprentice. There is no rice at home, so let's eat this first. Go to the town to buy some more after eating. Oh. Fei Yuzhen nodded, then picked up the chopsticks. Although there was only one bowl, he could eat 6 points full. I haven't had a good appetite recently, so one bowl is enough. From a distance, they are obviously people of similar height, one eating a bowl of rice slowly, and the other holding the bowl and eating. In this era, a bowl of rice for a meal is really not something that ordinary people can afford. Thanks to the good welfare provided by the Yubayashiki family, there is so much money that it can't be spent, otherwise the old and the young will starve to death sooner or later. After the meal, Jigoro gave the money, and Fei Yuzhen ran down Doshin, which was also part of the training. Doshin Town, a small town, is about 5 kilometers away from Doshin. He ran there in 10 minutes without breathing heavily. At the counter in front of the rice shop, the boss handed a large bag of rice to Fei Yuzhen. The rice bag that an adult can only hold with both hands, Fei Yuzhen lifted it with one hand. For him, it is still a bit strenuous to use one hand, but he can accept it, just as weight training. Zhen, you've become stronger again. You'll be a good worker in my shop. The rice shop owner was surprised and envious. I'm a damned natural worker. Fei Yuzhen was a little helpless. Fortunately, he was picked up by the old man, otherwise he probably wouldn't have enough food. Thinking of this, he silently thanked the old man for 3 seconds. Uncle Yamamoto, I want to save the world. I can't work as a part-time worker. Goodbye. The boss shook his head, looking disappointed. The 869th invitation failed, and it was another day of missing a good employee. Zhen, go home quickly today. The town is not peaceful recently. Fei Zhen was also a child who grew up under the rice shop owner's care. This kid was playful, so he reminded him. Hearing this, Tiandao Fei Zhen, who had walked a few meters away, stopped. He appeared in front of the boss in the blink of an eye, which really scared the other party. Uncle, what's wrong? Tell me in detail. Looking at the fiery eyes in Fei Zhen's eyes, the boss was stunned. Shouldn't normal people be afraid? Forget it, this kid is different from ordinary people, commonly known as abnormal. Let me tell you, there is a perverted killer recently. More than a dozen people have been killed. I heard that the dead people have no internal organs. It's terrible. The boss lowered his voice very low, and even trembled a little. He was very scared, fearing that he would be killed. Okay, go home quickly, don't run around today, go home early. The boss warned earnestly. I know, take care of yourself, uncle. Fei Zhen appeared on the street in the distance without knowing when. He turned his back to the boss and was waving goodbye. What the rice shop owner couldn't see was that the corners of his mouth were raised, and his eyes were fanatical, excited, and full of murderous intent. In addition to perverted killers, there is another kind of ghost that eats people in this world. If the human body is mutilated, it is most likely caused by evil ghosts. Fei Zhen has been eager to fight since he was a child. For this reason, he secretly hid a kitchen knife before going out today. It was dark. The last ray of light disappeared in the woods, the cold moonlight surged, and the cold wind passed through the woods, bringing a hint of coolness and a faint smell of blood. In a dark bush, a pair of scarlet eyes suddenly opened. It was a humanoid monster with a green face and fangs, chewing a bloody arm in its mouth. Suddenly, its body trembled violently, its blue-black nose shrugged, and an uncontrollable greed shot out from its fierce red eyes. The stumps fell, and the fangs in its mouth collided violently, making a crackling sound. Thin blood, such a pure taste, how lucky! Ha ha ha! After eating this thin blood, I will be promoted to the 12th ghost month in time, and the adults will use me more. The evil ghost was happy when he thought of the future promotion and salary increase. Tiandao Fei Zhen was walking on the forest path, with only the moonlight dimly illuminating the way ahead. Alas! Why didn't the ghost attack me? Could it be a perverted murderer? When he thought that there were still many perverts in this country, he felt a little disappointed. If a normal person knew what he was thinking at this moment, he would definitely think he was crazy. He didn't go home in the middle of the night and even fantasized about being attacked. Crazy. Really crazy. Little did he know that in the dark woods, the ghost he was thinking about was staring at him in the dark. The evil ghost's saliva flowed all over the ground, like a small waterfall. This was not something he could control. It was the instinct of eating people, and it was intuition. The human in front of him was so fragrant that the ghost couldn't stop. Its intuition told itself that eating that little ghost was definitely better than eating hundreds of people. It had never seen such a strong temptation of thin blood. Just looking at it from a distance made every cell in its body cheer. For it, such delicious thin blood turned out to be a weak child, which was simply a gift from God. Where should it start eating? Is it the head or the feet? No, I have to suck the blood first. Such precious blood cannot be wasted. The evil ghost was like a fanatical believer, and his cold eyes hit Tiandao Fei Zhen unscrupulously. That kind of gaze was like a lion staring at a newly born deer. This will be a hunt without suspense. Unarmed human cubs, lurking in the dark, plus the blood ghost art. How did he fail? How did he lose? The evil ghost knew that it was impossible for him to fail. He had this human in his grasp. Even if Musen came, it would be useless. He said so. Delicious prey, enjoy the fear of death. The corners of the evil ghost's mouth rose, almost to his ears. But who is the prey and who is the hunter, this is not known. It thought it was a hunter with a sure victory, but it didn't know that it was the real prey. When the bright moon was high, the evil ghost took action. To be on the safe side, it chose to sneak attack from behind. After all, such rare blood is hard to come by in 1,000 years, so it is better to be cautious. At this moment, the evil ghost found that the dying child in his consciousness turned back. When their eyes met, he saw the enthusiasm, excitement, hunger, and cold killing intent in Fei Yuzhen's eyes. What a scary look! Between me and him, who is the ghost? Who is the real prey? For a moment, this thought flashed through the evil ghost's mind. He didn't understand why a human was not afraid but excited when he saw him. Is this human a lunatic? Chapter 3. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Tiandao Fei Yuzhen raised his lips, and his tone was full of excitement. Evil ghost. Is this guy sick? When the evil ghost was confused, with a swish, the knife flashed, like lightning, across the air, with a frightening momentum, straight to its neck. In an instant, blood gushed out, and the ghost looked at Tiandao Fei Yuzhen retreating in disbelief. This little ghost is very strong. Fei Yuzhen put the rice bag aside. He didn't want to waste food. After all, it was disgusting to be stained with ghost blood. He shook off the blood on the kitchen knife, raised the kitchen knife and pointed it at the evil ghost, smiling. I said, you are so weak, I'm just a child. The contemptuous tone and the golden eyes looking down at the evil ghost made him very angry. This is like a person being mocked by the roast chicken on the table. Little ghost, you are looking for death. The evil ghost gritted his teeth, wishing to tear Fei Yuzhen alive. He decided to eat this arrogant human little ghost bite by bite. I saw a blue-black lightning streaking through the silver moonlight, and the sharp claws broke through the air and grabbed Fei Yuzhen's head. A crisp sound echoed in the forest path, and the kitchen knife broke into 2 pieces. Fei Yuzhen's chest had a bloody mark. He still underestimated the power of the ghost. At least ordinary kitchen knives could not match it. Ha ha ha! Little ghost, you keep being arrogant. The evil ghost suddenly became proud, pointing at Fei Yuzhen and laughing wildly. He pointed to the road ahead and said, Little ghost, I allow you to run for a while. Hearing this, Fei Yuzhen turned around and ran. The evil ghost stood there and did not chase him. It was not because he was kind but because his blood ghost technique was poisonous. It won't be long before that stinky little ghost can't move. The 2 short encounters made the evil ghost realize that the human child was not arrogant. He was indeed very strong, but he was still too immature. While Fei Yuzhen was running away, the evil ghost licked the blood from his nails clean, and slowly, it actually ate its entire hand. Fragrant. It smells so good. Ha ha ha. This is definitely the most delicious blood in the world. The evil ghost hugged his arms, his body trembling and twisting, staring at Fei Yuzhen, whose pace was getting slower and slower, with an intoxicated face. Damn! Damn it! Poisonous! Fei Yuzhen screamed and fell to the ground. The evil ghost was so excited that his face was deformed, his facial features were squeezed together, and his limbs were used together, like a wild beast, and he ran to Fei Yuzhen. It opened its bloody mouth, revealing its sharp fangs, biting Fei Yuzhen's neck, making a strange humming sound in its throat, and its eyes were about to turn into the shape of Fei Yuzhen. Just when the fangs were about to touch the opponent, a flash of knife light flashed by, and the demon's world was turned upside down. When the demon came to its senses, its head had been separated from its body. Fei Yuzhen held a half-broken kitchen knife, and the wound on his chest was intact. Only the torn clothes proved that he had been injured. He kicked the demon's body away and nailed its head to the ground with a knife. Monsters like you have such strong vitality. It's amazing that you can survive even if your body is separated. Fei Yuzhen patted the demon's cheek with a gentle smile on his face and curious praise in his mouth. But in the eyes of the demon, it saw a demon, a madman. If Muzan brought it majesty and absolute suppression, then the human in front of it brought it fear, especially the cold smile with a fake smile. The demon finally reacted and realized that all the weakness was pretended by this human. How is it possible? My blood ghost technique can poison a cow, how can you be fine? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The evil ghost roared hysterically. It was unwilling to accept and unwilling. Every time it roared, it would pull the facial muscles to hit the blade, and the blue-black blood flowed all over the ground. Because I have rare blood. Fei Yuzhen replied. He did not lie. He was indeed poisoned. Although it was intentional, it was still very painful. The most important thing is that you are too weak. After explaining, he did not forget to mock. There are special physiques in this world, usually rare blood in the mouth of ghosts. As a traverser, Tiandao Fei Yuzhen also has a special physique, and it is still very strong, especially his blood. His special physique gives him 3 abilities. One is extremely strong perception, which is a bit similar to spider sense, but it is still in training. The second is extremely strong recovery ability. Although it is not as good as the ghost's regeneration of broken limbs, he is still very satisfied. The third is that blood has unparalleled adaptability, which is Tiandao Fiyu Chen's greatest reliance. Battle. After 2.5 years of research, he found that people who swallowed his own blood could also speed up the recovery of injuries, but the effect was slightly worse, and blood could even cure diseases. The most important thing is that his blood can be preserved for a long time, and it can last up to 1 month without deterioration. Of course, these research results still have to thank the physical support of old man Kwangdao. Tiandao Fiyu Chen was deliberately hit by the ghost, and he just wanted to see if he could be poisoned, so as to enhance the body's resistance to poison. After all, the blood ghost arts of ghosts are varied. Unexpectedly, this guy's blood ghost arts can really poison people. Fiyu Chen stretched his waist, looked at the torn clothes, stared at the head nailed to the ground with a face full of resentment, and said, "My clothes are so torn, and I'm going to be scolded by the old man again. Tell me, how are you going to compensate me? Evil ghost! Do you want to listen to what you are saying? How can 36 degrees say such cold words?" Looking at the body lying not far away, the evil ghost was completely defeated. His body was torn apart, and the instigator of the incident had to pay compensation. Is there any law? Damn human, kill me if you have the guts. Otherwise I will definitely eat you. Just as the evil ghost was threatening, Fei Yuzhen put his hand to the evil ghost's mouth and said sincerely, "Here, eat it." The evil ghost looked at Fei Yuzhen with a puzzled look, and suddenly felt that this person was quite good. So, he opened his mouth and bit the other party, and Fei Yuzhen easily dodged it, and mocked by the way. "I gave you a chance, but you couldn't catch it. Are you kidding me?" The evil ghost roared. Fei Yuzhen patted the evil ghost's little head, looked at him with a fool's eyes, and said, "Congratulations, you got it right. You. The evil ghost was so angry that he was incoherent, and the blue-black color turned red. Is this man a monster? By the way, next is the question and answer session. Ignoring the evil ghost's swearing, Fei Yuzhen sat opposite it and asked with a smile. "Mr. Rubbish Ghost, I want to hear about your boss. Let's chat for a few dollars. Are you sick? What the hell is the boss or not?" The evil ghost cursed, with an extremely bad attitude. "Of course it's Muzan Kibutsuji." Fei Yuzhen's words were like the devil's whisper, echoing in the evil ghost's mind, and he was dumbfounded. Chapter 4. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. I don't know. Ah! The ghost head nailed to the ground by a half-chopper screamed wildly. The name Kibutsuji Muzan was like a curse engraved in the genes of every ghost. Just hearing this name, it was going crazy. It didn't want to eat the human in front of it. It just wanted to live. Tiandao Fiyu Chen shook his head and sighed helplessly. Look at how scared the child was. It was necessary to let it know what real fear was. Hey, hey, hey. He slapped the ghost head several times in a row, barely calming him down. The evil ghost's eyes were dull, and its whole head was shaking. The guy in front of him was not a human, he was a devil, a monster. Fei Yuzhen took out a paper bag from his arms, and said to himself while opening the paper bag. Let's talk about your boss. Like where he lives now. Otherwise, I can only stop your bleeding. While speaking, Tiandao Fei Yuzhen opened the paper bag in his hand, and inside was a purple powder with a fragrant smell. This is the powder made from wisteria flowers. Do you want some? Stop the bleeding quickly. He had a harmless smile on his face, but in the eyes of the evil ghost, he looked like a devil, which was really scary. Devil, you monster! Stay away from me! The evil ghost's face was distorted, and he shook his head like crazy. Fei Yuzhen pinched the face of the evil ghost, opened its mouth, and murmured, the ordinary people you killed were also scared like you before they died, right? They are innocent, so I say, ghosts are really disgusting creatures. As a time traveler, Fei Yuzhen hates 99% of ghosts in his bones, not only because he is a human, but also because he hates them for killing innocent people. After that, he stuffed the wisteria powder into the ghost's mouth. For ordinary people, wisteria is just a beautiful flower, but for evil ghosts, wisteria is highly poisonous. Fei Yuzhen pulled out half of the kitchen knife, and the evil ghost's head began to collide, with purple blood bubbles all over the surface, which seemed extremely painful. When it killed the first person, it should have known that it would be killed one day. Bang! With a loud bang, the evil ghost's head turned into a pool of purple-red blood, and a headless corpse lay not far away. This headless corpse was still twitching, as if it was still alive. When the sun rises, everything will disappear. The warm sunshine nourishes all living things, except evil spirits. Tiandao Feiyu-chen picked up the rice bag with one hand and put it on his shoulder, walking slowly towards Doshan, humming a cheerful little song. Go home. The bright moon was far away, like a clear spring hanging in the sky, and the moonlight like a waterfall flowed into the lush peach forest. In front of the cabin, Kawahime Jigoro sat at the door, saying harsh words. Stinky boy, he just knows how to play, I will definitely beat him up. It's already this time, you don't go home, right? It really makes me angry. There was a pair of worried eyes on the angry face, just like those elders who are worried about their children going out. Where is my sword? Old man Kawahime was looking for the wooden sword while cursing, and suddenly, a small figure appeared at the end of the peach forest. Grandpa, I'm back. I'll make it clear in advance that there's a reason why the clothes are damaged. Hearing this, the old man looked up suddenly. He wanted to rush over and give his apprentice a hug, but he couldn't do it because of his face, so he still blamed him with a distressed tone. Where have you been fooling around again, you little brat? You'll be finished if I don't beat you up. After saying that, the old man walked over with a wooden sword. He found blood on Tiandao Feiyu-chen's chest and scratches on his clothes, and instantly understood everything. You have seen that thing? Yes, it's the thing that messed up my clothes. I killed it. Instantly, all the blame and anger disappeared. The old man rubbed his apprentice's head for the first time, and said with a little pride in his tone. Well done, you are worthy of being my apprentice. Then, he changed the subject and said earnestly, remember, safety is still the priority. Fei Yuzhen smiled and boasted, I'm so strong, there's no need to worry at all. Just brag. The old man gave his stupid apprentice a slap and urged him to go to bed. At midnight, Fei Yuzhen had already fallen asleep, and the old man was still mending clothes in the room. His movements seemed very clumsy. This needlework is more difficult than cutting the 12 ghost moons. Find time to go to the town to make a few more sets of clothes for the stinky boy. I'm convinced. The old man cursed, needlework was really not something a grown man like him could do. At dawn, Fei Yuzhen was still snoring, and the old man got up early to cook. Suddenly, he stopped what he was doing and looked at the peach forest in the distance with burning eyes. A tall figure walked out of the peach forest, and old man Kawashima couldn't help but feel puzzled. Momoyama is rarely visited by people, and the disciples he trained were also selected by himself. Realizing that the figure had no intention of killing, the old man wiped his hands and walked out of the kitchen quickly. Just then, the first ray of dawn in the morning passed through the layers of clouds, like a golden big hand, gently caressing the halfway point of Momoyama. Looking from the sky, the whole Momoyama is like a huge painting. The lower half of the mountain is shrouded in a golden glow, which looks particularly dazzling, while the upper half of the mountain is immersed in a faint black shadow, mysterious and deep. The strange figure stood at the junction of light and darkness, with a smile brighter than the sun on his face. It was not until the man came closer that the old man saw his face clearly. He had long yellow hair with red ends, like leaping flames, and under his thick black sword eyebrows were piercing eyes. He wore a white haori with flame patterns on the end over the coffee-colored Demon Slayer Corps uniform. Just one look at him would infect you with his cheerful and fiery smile. Such a strong aura, this man is a pillar. As an old generation pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps, he recognized the other party's identity at a glance, the contemporary flame pillar, called Rengoku. What is Rengoku? Having lived in seclusion for too long, old man Kawashima could not remember. At this moment, a heroic voice sounded, and the fiery man bowed and said politely. Senior Kawashima, I am Rengoku Makijiro. The current flame pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps is here to visit you. Oh! Mr. Kawashima suddenly realized that the last time he saw this kid, he was still wearing open crotch pants. You kid have grown up so big. I held you when you were a child. The previous generation of Flame Pillar and Mr. Kawashima had a good personal relationship. He had been to his home as a guest, but it was a pity that he hadn't seen him for a long time. In addition, Mr. Kawashima lived in seclusion due to a broken leg, and rarely contacted the outside world. He really didn't expect that the son of an old friend would suddenly come to visit. "Boy, come in and have a seat and have breakfast." "Then thank you, Senior Kawashima." Chapter 5. Rengoku Makijiro sat at the table in the courtyard. He came here to give a knife to Mr. Kawashima, which was what his father had told him before he died. He had just completed a mission and happened to pass by Doshin, so he came to visit. The master and apprentice had a simple breakfast, white porridge with pickles and rice balls, but the amount of food was a bit jaw-dropping. "Senior, you have a really good appetite." Looking at the 2 bowls of porridge and a bowl of rice balls on the table, Rengoku Makijiro smiled and praised. "Apprentice eats a lot, you can serve whatever you want, just like at home. By the way, how is your father recently?" Mr. Kawashima smiled and chatted. Hearing this, Makijiro lowered his eyebrows, and there was a bit more sadness in his eyes. Seeing this, Mr. Kawashima sighed imperceptibly, and was sad from the heart, but pretended to be indifferent on his face and continued to eat calmly. "My old friend left first. It's my fault. I should have gone to see him," Kawahima Jigoro said with a wry smile. "Senior, my father died," with a smile. "Don't worry about it." Rengoku Makijiro hurriedly comforted him, his tone as hot as the sun. He remembered his father's words and lived with a smile. "Here is the sword for you. It was my father's sword. Before he died, he told me to hand it over to you." He pulled out another sword from his waist and handed it to old man Kawahima. At this moment, a lazy young man's voice broke the somewhat low atmosphere. "Yo! Guests are coming. What's new?" Tendo Feiyu-chan rubbed his eyes, sat down at the table, took a bowl of porridge and started to show off. Old Master Kawashima gave his apprentice a slap on the face and started to teach him a lesson, angrily saying, "You little brat, you are disrespectful, call me uncle." When he raised his eyes, Feiyu-chan spit out the porridge in his mouth. "Looks like. They look so damn like, this is definitely the father of the eldest brother." He just woke up and didn't care at all, but then he thought about it, he didn't remember that the Rengoku family had any friendship with the old man. Forget it, this is a new world, it's reasonable to be a little different, it doesn't matter. Feiyu-chan doesn't care about this little change, not to mention it's a good thing. "Young man, you can eat a lot, it's a blessing to be able to eat." Seeing that the other party was staring at him, Rengoku Makijiro didn't feel disgusted but smiled and praised him. "My kid is about the same age as you. Let's meet him when we have time." "Uncle, I must meet him." Feiyu-chan excitedly held Rengoku Makijiro's big hand. He was his elder brother, how could he not want to meet him? "Stinky boy, don't be disrespectful, get off the table." Old man Kawashima kicked Feiyu-chan who was sitting on the table away. He was furious. If there were no outsiders, he would have taken action. "Old man, in front of outsiders, please give me some face." Feiyu-chan glanced at the old man with resentment and rubbed his butt. "I know your uncle's father. He is not an outsider." As soon as he saw his apprentice, the old man felt less sad. "The person has passed away, so cherish the one in front of you." Rengoku Makijiro looked at the master and apprentice with a smile. They have a good relationship, so he felt relieved. However, Senior Kawashima is just like what his father said, with a hot temper and unruly personality. Rengoku Makijiro stayed in Momoyama until noon, and after lunch, he was ready to leave. Suddenly, a black crow landed on his shoulder. This is a small animal responsible for communication in the Demon Slayer Corps. It has a very high IQ and can speak human language. Rengoku, Hakujo Island, Northwest, there are evil ghosts eating people. Got it. Rengoku Makijiro patted the crow's head and immediately set off for Hakujo Island. Feiyu-chan also heard the information brought by the crow. He looked at his master beside him, with a serious face and asked in a serious tone. "Master, can I go with uncle?" "Hakujo Island, he has a reason to go, because the future snake pillar is there." According to the plot development, he was rescued by the previous generation flame pillar Rengoku Makijiro, but the small change in the world line made Feiyu-chan a little scared. He came to eliminate regrets. He didn't want to leave any regrets, and he didn't want any accidents to happen. Old Master Kawashima was stunned. This was the first time he saw his apprentice show such an expression in the past 12 years. Although he didn't know what happened, he knew it must be very important to his apprentice. Even if he was reluctant, the young eagle would always fly in the sky. Be careful, follow the flame pillar closely, and don't be stubborn. I know you are very talented, but your strength should not reach the pillar level, so don't be stubborn. Hey! Old master, do you agree? Fei Yuzhen didn't react at all. Come. Old man Guangdao rolled his eyes at his apprentice and said unhappily, wait for me. Soon, the old man threw him a package and a Nicaran sword. In the package were rice balls and some money that had just been made this morning. Master, you have planned this long ago. As expected of my master, you are so shrewd and cunning. I admire you. Fei Yuzhen took the package with a smile and flattered him a few strange words. When the old man reacted, he had already slipped away. You traitor, I don't believe you won't go home, wait for me. The old man stood at the door, cursing and staring at the traitor's back until Fei Yuzhen's figure disappeared. He seemed to be a step shorter in an instant. Stinky boy, be careful. Old man Guangdao knew that the talent was born for killing demons, but how could he, as a grandfather, not worry about the child he treated as his own son going far away? This is the complex mood that only elders have. On the path leading to the foot of Doshan Mountain, a red gold lightning caused ripples. The speed of the pillar-level swordsman was too fast, and Fei Yuzhen could only keep up with sword skills. He knew in his heart that practice alone was useless, and only actual combat was the best teacher. Uncle, wait for me. Rengoku Makijiro rubbed his ears and said to himself, hey! Why did I hear the voice of that kid Zhen? Rengoku, Rengoku, look behind. The crow reminded loudly. Oh! He turned his head and saw a shocking scene in his sight. A figure surrounded by red gold lightning was rushing towards him at an astonishing speed. Fighting spirit? Having forged fighting spirit at a young age, Rengoku Makijiro laughed excitedly and shouted. Genius! Senior Kawashima's apprentice is really a genius. He slowed down and Fei Yuzhen finally caught up. Uncle, can I go with you on the mission? Makijiro looked at Toma and asked, but you didn't even participate in the final selection. Killing demons is risking your life. He was not exaggerating, because the death rate of the Demon Slayer Corps is very high. As long as I can kill all the evil demons in the world, I will not hesitate to sacrifice my life. Toma said calmly, and the determination revealed in his eyes scared Rengoku Makijiro. This kid is really extraordinary. Uncle, only actual combat can grow, I won't make trouble for you. Toma promised. Ha 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 ha, good guy, you are ambitious, let's go. Uncle will not let you go. Rengoku Makijiro laughed and was moved. The Demon Slayer Corps has successors. Chapter 6. Hakujo Island. The heavy rain poured down from the sky like a waterfall, and the big raindrops splashed on the ground. In the heavy rain, a thin figure ran, and every step he took was on the muddy ground, leaving deep and shallow footprints, which gradually blurred with the rain. It was a boy who looked about 11 or 12 years old, with ragged clothes and kelp hair soaked by the heavy rain, sticking limply on his forehead. There was a pair of heterochromatic pupils in the broken hair, one green on the left and the other gold on the right. Despair and unwillingness were mixed on the boy's face. His cheek was torn by someone, and the crescent-shaped crack spread from the corner of his mouth to the root of his ear. The red muscles like a Kenyan were particularly hideous. The weirdest thing was that a small white snake was wrapped around the boy's neck like a scarf. The white snake's fierce vertical pupils stared at the rain curtain behind, and it kept spitting out its tongue, as if there was a ferocious monster in the rain. Shua shua shua. The sound of scales rubbing against the mud suddenly came from the rain curtain. This tiny sound was like a curse that urged death, and it pierced into Iguro Obanai's ears fiercely. He gently pulled off the little snake and threw it aside. He could die but his friend couldn't. In the dungeon full of fishy smell, this was the only family that accompanied Obanai. Kabimaru, run! Obanai yelled hysterically, and then took out a dagger from his arms. This was originally a dagger used for suicide, but now he chose to use it to resist fate. The moment Iguro Obanai turned around, a huge snake-like monster broke through the rain curtain. Its upper body was a woman with a split mouth, with a hideous and twisted face and a mouth full of sharp teeth, which made people shudder. The yellow vertical pupils flashed with a cold light, and there was a strange smile on the corner of his mouth. The lower body was a black snake body, and the twisting tail was like a sharp blade. Keep running. Boring person, why don't you just die? The snake ghost looked at Xiao Banii with a playful look on his face, and laughed at him jokingly. Why don't you die? Monster! Xiao Beinei spat at the snake ghost, held the dagger tightly, and rushed forward resolutely. Even if he knew he would die, accepting death and dying in resistance were different. It would be better for the descendants of sinners like him to die, but he couldn't die at the hands of such a monster. The money of your entire family comes from me. The snake ghost easily slapped Xiao Beinei away, and the dagger flew away to an unknown place. Cough cough cough. Xiao Beinei gritted his teeth, and the pain of broken bones didn't make him cry out. The snake ghost was too lazy to play with this prey anymore. It was hungry and wanted to eat him. The huge snake body shot up, and the snake ghost's mouth collided quickly like plasticine until it was enough to eat a whole person. Monster! I will not let you go even if I die. The face of the 12-year-old boy was not afraid of death but hatred for the evil ghost. At the critical moment, a burning sword energy cut through the rain curtain and also cut off half of the snake ghost's body, and black blood splashed out. The snake ghost was stunned. This level of attack was from the pillar of the Demon Slayer core. Damn it! Without any hesitation, it turned around and ran into the rain curtain, almost using the fastest speed in its life. Damn pillar, why did you find me? Damn it! The snake ghost cursed viciously. The wound extending from the shoulder to the stomach was healing, but every cell in it was trembling. The pillar was too strong, it couldn't deal with it, so it could only let the little ghost go. Child, I'll be back soon. Rengoku Makaijuro's cheerful and warm voice dispelled the cold rain, and Xiao Beinei only saw a flash of afterimage, followed by the sound of footsteps. Even though he didn't understand anything, he could feel the strong oppression. At this moment, he became eager to have the power to deal with evil ghosts. But after a moment, the hope disappeared. He was just the descendant of a sinner, and he should die in the heavy rain. At this moment, a gentle voice sounded, and unlike the warm voice just now, this voice was more like the spring breeze in March. Hello, my name is Tiandao Fiuchen, what's your name? When he raised his eyes, the pair of bright golden eyes came into his eyes, making Xiao Beinei unable to raise his head. This person looks about the same age as himself, why does he look so familiar? Then, an umbrella was opened over Xiao Beinei's head, blocking the cold rain. I said, what's your name? Feiyuzhen asked knowingly. He raised his hand, handed the cabana to Xiao Beinei, and said. Such an important family member, don't throw it away in the future. Why are you, his? Words got stuck in his throat. When the Kabutomaru climbed up his neck again, he stood up with difficulty and consciously withdrew from the umbrella. He was a little afraid to look at the boy in front of him. He felt inferior. I am just a descendant of a sinful family that lives on the money robbed by evil spirits. I have despicable blood in my bones. How can I stand with others? I really want to die. Looking at the destitute boy standing in the rain, Feiyu felt a little distressed. He knew the past of every pillar of the Demon Slayer core. The Iguro family where Obanai was born lived a luxurious life with the money robbed by evil spirits. Every once in a while, they sacrificed a baby in the family in exchange for wealth. He hated the blood flowing in his body and always felt that he was guilty. Joining the Demon Slayer Corps to kill demons was also to atone for his sins. But who can decide his own birth? It is not his fault to reincarnate. Xiao Beinei will definitely not understand these words. Maybe they will get along slowly in the future. It will get sick if it keeps getting wet. You should think more about it. Feiyu-chen pointed at Kabutomaru and moved closer to Obanai. This time, Obanai did not retreat. He glanced at Feiyu-chen and said coldly. Iguro Obanai, my name. Tiandao Feiyu-chen, please take care of me in the future. Feiyu-chen smiled brightly. How could a snake get sick from the rain? He lied a little. Oh. Why did you help me? Feiyu-chen's next words shocked Obanai. I helped if I wanted to, that's it. Obanai looked confused. It was the first time he heard such a unique reason. If he was not a sinner, he could talk to him. After a while, footsteps were heard in the rain again, and it sounded like an object moving at a very fast speed. As expected of an uncle, he came back so soon. It's normal to think about it. In front of the pillar, the snake ghost is just trash, at most a bit stronger trash. Suddenly, a blue figure rushed towards the two of them, and Toma immediately sensed the breath of danger. But it was too late to draw the sword. With the existence of the pillar Makijiro and the familiarity with the plot, Toma relaxed. This change came too suddenly. The blue figure is another ghost. Damn, I was careless and didn't dodge. At the critical moment, Toma pushed Obanai away. Chapter 7. Iguro Kobana, who fell to the side, was stunned. His mind was blank as he watched Fei-Yu-Chen's bloody body fly out. What? Why did he save me? I am a sinner. Damn it! Kobana roared and punched the ground one by one, guilt filling his heart. The attacking evil ghost showed up, with its skinny body hunched, and its green fish scales opened and closed in the rain, as if breathing. He he he. It turned out to be a thin blood, it's a big profit. The fish ghost greedily licked the blood on its claws. At this moment, Fei-Yu-Chen was the only one in its eyes. The fish ghost walked towards Fei-Yu-Chen slowly, and every cell in his body was cheering. At this moment, Iguro Kobana ran in front of Fei-Yu-Chen, opened his arms, and blocked him with his thin body. Monster, if you want to eat me first. The fish ghost looked at Xiao Baniai with disdain. With Fei-Yu-Zhen's super rare blood, the human in front of him was like dry bark that was hard to swallow, and even dogs wouldn't eat it. Get out of here, don't disturb me while I'm eating. It slapped Xiao Baniai with a slap, and with a sizzling sound, it was not Xiao Baniai's head that flew out, but the fish ghost's forearm. I'll sneak attack you too, you dried fish. Fei-Yu-Zhen put one hand on Xiao Baniai's shoulder and taunted mercilessly. The ghost and Xiao Baniai were both stunned, and they both looked at Fei-Yu-Zhen at the same time. You're not. Oh. It's just a little bleeding, you won't die, don't make a fuss. Fei-Yu-Zhen patted Xiao Baniai's shoulder with a smile, and looked indifferent. Xiao Baniai. While talking, Fei-Yu-Zhen had already dragged Xiao Baniai back several meters. The fish ghost barely came to his senses. He was still not dead. Was he a ghost or was I? Tisk. Eating him alive would be good. Little ghost, if I can kill you once, I can kill you a second time. The fish ghost's chest was pressed against the mud, and his body swam flexibly like a fish, at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, he had rushed in front of the two. Fei-Yu-Zhen tightly grasped the hilt of the knife in his hand, his eyes firm and focused. In an instant, a red gold arc emerged from his legs and spread rapidly throughout his body like lightning. Thunder breathing one form thunderbolt flash. With a crisp sound of drawing the sword, Fei-Yu-Zhen swung a sword at an astonishing speed. The sword flashed with dazzling red gold light, and at the same time, a deafening thunder sounded in the rain. From the sky, a red gold meteor cut through the rain curtain, and the fish ghost's body was separated, although this process only lasted for a moment. Obana looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief, and was amazed. So strong. This guy looks about the same age as himself. Fei-Yu-Zhen made a handsome knife flower, and then put away the knife. He glanced at Obana who was speechless and invited. Obana, do you want to become as strong as me? Come and join the Demon Slayer Corps. We are an organization that specializes in hunting monsters like this. Boy, come with me to save the world. Fei-Yu-Zhen's face showed an extremely sincere expression, and his eyes flashed with a firm light, as if burning with a hot flame. His voice was low and powerful, full of endless power, and his tone was even more irresistible. Like a pyramid scheme leader. Can I? Iguro Obana looked at the boy who was almost emitting golden light in the rain, and he hesitated. Unexpectedly, Fei-Yu-Chen grabbed his hand, took the question sentence as an affirmative sentence, and said. Thank you for joining. Obani. No, it's a bit second year, I can't stand it. Fei-Yu-Chen complained about himself a little embarrassedly, and Xiaobania was confused. He didn't understand this person's nonsense. But this person saved his life and can kill monsters to atone for his sins, so let him go. Suddenly, a tall figure hugged the two from behind, and Rengoku Makaijuro's hearty laughter made the two of them have a headache. Really, it's okay. I didn't expect there was a ghost here, it was really thrilling. Hearing this, Fei-Yu-Chen glanced at the enthusiastic uncle and complained, Uncle, you won't be watching all the time. Ah ha ha ha. How is that possible? Makaijuro's eyes unconsciously looked to the side. He also returned after Fei-Yu-Chen was attacked, so he saw how this kid killed the ghost. By the way, I'm sorry. Before I came, your family was killed by that ghost. Only one person is left. Alas. Makijuro said with great remorse. Listen, seeing her family being killed, Obanai felt nothing in her heart. Those demons should have died long ago. Sacrificing one's relatives to monsters and helping monsters kill passers-by are all unforgivable crimes. Such a family is rotten to the core and should have been exterminated long ago. By the way, I brought the surviving girl out. She said she was your cousin. As he spoke, Rengoku Makijiro pointed to the distance, where a girl holding an umbrella stood. She looked overly frightened, but her eyes looking at Obanai were full of hatred. Obanai, why did you run away? Why can't you just be eaten? Why don't you just die? It's all your fault. Everyone was killed because you ran away. Wouldn't it be better if you just got eaten as a sacrifice? Why don't you just die? Then everyone won't have to die. The girl cried and questioned Xiao Baniai fiercely, even though what she said was completely unreasonable. Xiao Baniai looked at her cousin silently, and there was a little ripple in her heart. He had thought about the fate of the Ihei family after he escaped, but he didn't want to be eaten by that monster. At least he couldn't die in frustration, and even if he died, he had to die in resistance. Ihei Xiao Baniai, why can't you just let it eat you, why? The fear in the girl's heart turned into anger. She was hysterical, and her resentful eyes pierced into Xiao Baniai's body like a dagger. Hualala! The only thing left in this world was the girl's abuse and the sound of continuous rain. Suddenly, a crisp slap sounded. The girl stopped scolding and watched Fei Yuzhen withdraw his hand. I usually don't hit women, but don't keep talking to me. Why don't you go and be eaten by the ghost? What obligation does he have to be eaten? Your people died because they deserved it. Live somewhere else. You should go back home to see if there is money stolen by ghosts. Obana's cousin returned to normal. She hugged her face, knelt down, and burst into tears. It's what you deserve. Do we deserve it? Fei Yuzhen ignored her and turned around. His face turned from cloudy to sunny. He smiled and said, Uncle, Obana, let's go. I'm starving. Just at this moment, the sky suddenly cleared up, and a beam of warm sunlight penetrated the heavy clouds and sprinkled on Iguro Obana. Chapter 8. After the mission was over, Rengoku Makijiro took the two children away from Hakujo Island. He wrote a letter to tell his lord everything that happened during the mission. The lord was happy to accept the newcomer. On the way back to the headquarters, he also gave some swordsmanship guidance and physical training to Obanai. 2 weeks later, the three of them arrived at the outskirts of the imperial capital. I want to eat delicious food, not dry food. Fei Yuzhen had not eaten for 3 hours. He was so hungry that his stomach was rumbling. If he wanted to blame someone, he could only blame his broken physique. Obanai, do you have anything else to eat? He looked at Obanai with anticipation and asked. Obanai had already wrapped his chin with a bandage. He glanced at Fei Yuzhen with contempt. After the two of them got familiar with each other, his poisonous tongue attribute awakened. Zhen, you are a glutton, you have eaten all my dry food, idiot. After finishing his venomous words, he took out the last piece of dry food from his arms. Because he was imprisoned in the dungeon for many years, he had the habit of saving food. But this was really the last piece of dry food. For Xiao Baniai, this piece of dry food would not be taken out unless it was absolutely necessary. But if it was for Fei Yuzhen, he would be happy to do it. Fei Yuzhen took the dry food like a starving ghost, ate it in 2 or 3 bites, and was so moved that he almost cried. Woo woo woo. What a nice ration, Xiao Baniai, you are really my good buddy. Hearing this, Xiao Baniai turned his head, the bandage covered his smile, and whispered. I don't know you, good for nothing. Boys, there is a town ahead. Finally, I can have a big meal, ha ha ha. Rengoku Makijiro pointed to the distance with excitement. After nearly 2 weeks of savage life, the town means delicious food, and delicious food means happiness. Uncle, is it true? Fei Yuzhen didn't know when he got close to Makijiro. The two stood side by side, both with stars in their eyes, all kinds of delicious food circling around their heads, and drooling. In the blink of an eye, only lingering smoke and dust were left on the road, and the two ran away in a flash. Eat! Eat! Delicious food! Delicious food! The slogan-like shouts flew into Obanai's ears from a distance. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, as if he couldn't accept such an abstract scene in front of him. You know, these two are stronger than each other, and he can't beat them anyway. Alas! Is the Demon Slayer Corps a serious organization? Obanai sighed, he touched Kabukamara's head and walked towards the town. A moment later, he found the two eating together in front of a restaurant. There were 7 bowls stacked next to Rengoku Makijiro. When he looked at Toma, Obanai's worldview collapsed. A full 45 bowls stacked together were like an unreachable mountain of food. "Boss, another bowl, I'm not short of money." Toma pushed the empty bowl aside and greeted the store owner with an unsatisfied look. All eyes in the restaurant were focused on this table. After all, it was rare to see such a big eater. Fei Chen noticed Obanai, smiled and greeted him, and changed his words, "Boss, 2 bowls, my friend is here." As soon as he finished speaking, the diner's eyes turned to Obanai. After all, he was friends with this guy with an amazing appetite, so he must be a good person. Obanai glared at Fei Chen with a face full of resentment. Fortunately, he hid the Kabumaru in his arms in advance, otherwise he might have been kicked out. Who would have a snake around their neck? He sat opposite Fei Chen, and the two of them were definitely one laughing and the other unhappy. "Boys, I found a Fuji house in this town. We can go there to rest after eating," Makijiro suggested. "What is Fuji house?" Obanai asked with a puzzled look, feeling that he and the two were not on the same channel again. Fei Chen swallowed the food in his mouth and explained, "This is the abbreviation of the Wisteria Pattern House. It was established by those who had been helped by the Demon Slayer Corps. They would mark special wisteria patterns outside their homes and provide corresponding help to the Demon Slayer Corps members free of charge. It is the base for the Demon Slayer Corps to stay and rest in the world." "Yet." Obanai nodded, untied a small piece of the bandage, and ate slowly. After eating and drinking, the 3 of them went to the Fuji house to rest. In the evening, Obanai was still pestering Rengoku Makijiro to learn swordsmanship. For a motivated junior, Makijiro wanted to teach him everything he knew, not to mention that he was a talented junior. Although the breath of flame was not very suitable for him, he could still teach him some basic sword skills. As for Fei Chen, who was lazy and gluttonous in Obanai's eyes, he had already wandered off somewhere. The town has electricity, and when it gets dark, the dim yellow the street lights were on. There were still some small vendors selling food scattered on the roadside. Although it was not so lively, it revealed a warm atmosphere of fireworks. "Boss, I'll buy your tricolor dumplings." Fei Yuzhen suddenly appeared in front of a vendor and slapped the money in front of the boss, which scared the other side. "Hey, wait a moment, little brother." The boss smiled, but his hands were a little trembling. After all, this man was carrying a knife, even a child would be scary. "Boss, don't be nervous, I'm a good person," Fei Yuzhen explained seriously. "Yes, yes, yes." The boss nodded repeatedly. The government's ban on knives has been issued for many years. Can he be a good person with a knife? Suddenly, a man in coarse cloth bumped into Fei Yuzhen's arms. Because of years of practicing knives, his chassis is not ordinary stable, but he knocked the man down. He was just about to care about the person who was knocked down, when he saw a nimble figure coming out from in front of him and running away without looking back. Then, a cursing voice came from not far away. Fei Yuzhen looked in the direction of the voice and saw 3 ferocious men. "Damn it, stop right there! When will you pay back the money you owe? If you don't pay it back, I'll sell you." "Brother, stop looking, be careful not to get into trouble." The boss hurriedly reminded, "Those guys have backgrounds, and the government doesn't care." "Oh." Fei Yuzhen retracted his gaze, he just wanted to eat something and didn't want to conflict with others. Yu Guangzhong was the one who ran away. From the back, she looked like a little girl. She was holding a package of soup medicine in her arms and ran very fast. Soon, the thin figure in coarse cloth ran into the alley. "Shinobu Koko, stop right there. You'd better not let me catch you, or I'll definitely beat you to death. And your sister, don't think we won't dare to do anything just because you two know some medical skills. Damn it, stop right there." The leader saw that he couldn't catch up, so he started to speak harshly, but he didn't give up the pursuit. Hearing the shout, Fei Yuzhen's body shook, he seemed to hear an extremely familiar name. Shinobu Koko. That man just said Shinobu Koko, right? He definitely said Shinobu Koko. "Brother, your tricolor dumplings." "Boss, wait for me a moment." The boss panicked when he found that the brother was staring at the 3 bullies. "Didn't we agree not to meddle in other people's business?" The boss wanted to stop him, but it was too late, because Tiandao Fei Yuzhen was already behind the bullies. Chapter 9. Tiandao Fiyu-chan raised his arm and held down the big guy who was a head taller than him, and asked seriously. Hello, I want to ask, is the girl you are chasing called Koko Shinobu? The man who was stopped looked annoyed, raised his hand and knocked Fiyu-chan's hand away, and cursed angrily. Fuck! What are you doing? Who the hell are you? Why, you know Koko Shinobu, then help her pay the money. The strong man turned around, grabbed Fiyu-chan's wrist and lifted him up, as if he wanted to vent his anger on him. Fiyu-chan didn't care. At this moment, there was only one thing in his mind, that is, to confirm the identity of the girl. Is that girl Koko Shinobu? He still repeated the question at the beginning. According to the plot, the Butterfly Sisters were brought back to the Demon Slayer Corps by the rock pillar. Before that, they should have been wandering. Fiyu-chan never expected to meet Koko Shinobu in an unknown town. Maybe this is fate. You are sick, aren't you? I'm going to beat you to death. The sturdy man was about to raise his hand to slap Feiyuzhen, but he suddenly let go of Feiyuzhen in pain, and wailed while covering his arm. How can this kid be so strong? Beat him for me. The sturdy man wore a painful mask and ordered the two younger brothers beside him. At the entrance of the alley not far away, Koko Shinobu, who was wearing coarse cloth, was looking at several people eagerly. She looked thin, and her face seemed to be smeared with potash, looking like a little cat, which was what the Butterfly Sisters needed to survive. Being displaced and having a pretty face is not a good thing, especially in this era. Koko Shinobu frowned. She was hesitating. Thanks to the stranger, she had time to escape, but now the stranger seemed to be in danger. She glanced at the medicine bag in her hand, and then at Feiyuzhen who was about to be beaten up. Sister, wait for me. Shinobu Koko's eyes became firm, and she ran out of the alley at the fastest speed. You bunch of stinking hooligans, aren't you going to catch me? I'm right here, Loyalu. Hearing Shinobu Koko's shout, the debt collector leader immediately called his younger brother to chase after her. Little bitch, don't let me catch you, or I'll kill you. Feng Yuzhen, who had just put the sun wheel sword back, looked at the three people who ran away fiercely, his eyes full of anger, as if he wanted to eat them alive. His body trembled slightly, his fists clenched, his teeth clenched, and he was extremely dissatisfied and angry in his heart. Did these bastards just scold Shinobu? If I can't kill people, it's okay for me to break his legs, right? Bastard, dare to scold Shinobu, I'll kill you. Feiyuzhen followed closely into the alley, even though he hadn't said hello to Shinobu yet. It's all these bastards. Familiar with the terrain, Shinobu Koko had already run to a corner, and she successfully deceived the three loan sharks. Until she saw a familiar figure running past her, she felt terrible. What? Why did this person follow me? Why didn't he run away? Did he not understand what I meant? What a fool! Ah! Shinobu Koko helplessly held her forehead and muttered softly. Her original intention was to lead the group of debt collectors away so that Feiyuzhen could escape. Hey! Here, here! She grabbed Feiyuzhen's clothes and wanted to pull him into the alley to hide, but she was taken out by Feiyuzhen, who was stronger. In Feiyuzhen's perspective, the thin and small girl who was always thinking about him just threw herself into his arms. What's going on? Am I dreaming? This dream is so happy. He. Oh. Shinobu Koko looked at the boy with a silly smile, a little confused, thinking that this guy must be a fool. Suddenly, a shout broke this strange scene. Here, the two of them are here. Shinobu Koko realized that she was in someone else's arms. Thinking of Feiyuzhen's smile, she was immediately ashamed and angry, and a circle of red appeared under the black potash. Little hooligan, what are you thinking about? She slapped Feiyuzhen's daydream and made him realize that this was not a dream. Shinobu hit me. So happy. Feiyuzhen covered his face with a perverted look, and looked at the girl touching the potash in front of him stupidly. In this way, I, a pervert, think he is perverted. Run! Shinobu Koko grabbed Toma's wrist and ran into the alley with him. The two of them shuttled through the maze-like alley, and the debt collectors were chasing them closely. After a while, she was exhausted and panting. Her life of eating one meal and starving the next made her brain not work well, and she actually ran into a dead end. Glancing at the strange boy who was still grinning, and looking at the three debt collectors who surrounded her, Koko Shinobu chose to protect this fool behind her. Because he helped her stop those guys, and it was because of her that she got involved. I will find a way to pay back the money, this has nothing to do with him. My sister and I have already paid off the principal and interest, and we need time to pay the remaining interest that came out of nowhere. Give me a few more days. Koko Shinobu's tone was no longer tough, but with a bit of pleading. Ha ha ha. The debt collector's leader laughed heartily, mocking with a joking face. Little bitch, aren't you like a wild cat? Why don't you show your teeth? I still prefer your fiery personality. Come on, smile for me, maybe I. Before the man finished speaking, Fei Yuzhen flashed like a ghost, with a sharp fist, and hit him hard on the lower abdomen. This punch seemed to penetrate his body, and the pig-killing howl echoed in the alley. Then, a strong pain spread from the abdomen, he knelt on the ground, holding his stomach, and vomited stomach acid all over the floor. Fei Yuzhen raised his foot high and stepped on the other's head into the still steaming acid water. A cold voice sounded, with a hint of murderous intent. Try to curse me again. I've been tolerating you for a long time. You're a lone shark, right? I wonder if you'll survive. The next moment, the knife was inserted next to the head of the debt collector's boss. The cold light scared him so much that he dared not move. He thought the knife on the boy's waist was a toy, but it was a real thing. Those who carry knives under the ban are either lunatics or desperate criminals. No matter which one, he can't afford to offend them. Fei Yuzhen's action of drawing the knife also frightened the two younger brothers of the debt collector, and they quietly stepped back a few steps. Little bastard, I'm not scared. You weren't even born when I killed people. Do you dare to use a knife? The debt collectors are a group of desperate criminals. He has been in the business for so many years, and he really doesn't believe that a little bastard dares to do it. This kind of guy probably doesn't even dare to kill a chicken. Who knew that as soon as he finished speaking, the long knife stabbed into his thigh. This guy actually killed people, and Fei Yuzhen no longer had any psychological burden. If you say you want to break one of his legs, then break one of his legs. Sometimes, humans and ghosts are similar, both eat people without leaving any bones, but the way they eat people is different. The debt collector screamed in pain, his thigh was broken, and seeing this, his two younger brothers ran away. Chapter 10. Fei Yuzhen squatted down, leaned close to the debt collector's ear, and said with a smile, his words were full of thorns. Do you believe it now? It would be great if your neck was as hard as your mouth. Either apologize to her or die. Fei Yuzhen's words were like the whisper of a devil. The debt collector felt his brain go blank. He knew that this kid would definitely kill him. He was not an ordinary person. His original arrogant and domineering arrogance disappeared in an instant. He was scared. Fei Yuzhen smiled and patted the debt collector's shoulder. He pulled out the knife and shook off the blood on the blade. The moment the knife was pulled out of his thigh, the debt collector was sweating profusely in pain and didn't say a word. Fei Yuzhen gave the debt collector a way out, a way to live, and his life and death were in the hands of Koko Shinobu. The debt collector crawled in front of Koko Shinobu and knelt down with gritted teeth. Sister, I was wrong, please forgive me. Please, please forgive me. It's all my fault, I'm a son of a bitch, I'm not a human being. He slapped himself and kowtowed, he was so humble to the bone. Looking at the scene in front of her, Koko Shinobu was a little at a loss. After several years of wandering, it was the first time she had seen such a guy kowtow and admit his mistakes. She really hated these guys. They forced women into prostitution and loaned money at high interest rates. They were almost evil. It's not a pity for them to die 100 times. You are a scum, go to hell. Koko Shinobu roared, as if shouting out all the sufferings she had suffered over the years. Hearing this, Fei Yuzhen drew his knife. In this era, there are many scums besides evil spirits. He doesn't mind cleaning them up. Besides, it's not worth protecting such people. The debt collector was desperate. He had beaten people to death, but when he was really going to die, he was afraid. He didn't want to die, and he even peed out of fear. Just as the sun blade was about to fall, Shinobu Koko held Fei Yuzhen's hand. The two looked at each other. She didn't know why a stranger wanted to help her, but she didn't want a good man to have his hands stained with dirty blood because of her. Forget it, let's go. After a while, the two left the alley. Shinobu Koko bowed deeply to Fei Yuzhen, and said sincerely. Thank you, I'm grateful for your kindness. I know some pharmacology knowledge, just ask if you need help. Fei Yuzhen hurriedly helped Shinobu Koko up and smiled slightly. He thought it was no big deal. It's okay, don't worry about it. If you need to repay Shinobu for helping him, it would be too beastly. By the way, I have a knife with me, aren't you afraid of me? Fei-Yu-chan asked casually. After all, he was quite afraid of the owner of the three-color dumpling. Shinobu Koko's answer was very direct. Now she is the most real her, a straightforward girl. Because you helped me, I'm not afraid. By the way, what's your name? Fei-Yu-chan straightened his clothes, looked into Shinobu Koko's eyes, and said seriously. Tiandeo Fei-Yu-chan, people who are familiar with me call me Zhen. Shinobu Koko's dirty face bloomed with a smile as gorgeous as spring flowers. That smile was like the sun penetrating the clouds, warm and bright, as if the whole world was lit up. This smile made Fei-Yu-chan stunned, it was really beautiful. Of course, such a smile is very rare. Perhaps because of the hardship of life, or perhaps because of her personality, Shinobu Koko rarely smiles on weekdays. Hello, Mr. Tiandeo, my name is Shinobu Koko. Thank you so much for helping me. At this moment, Fei-Yu-chan was cheering in his heart. He finally exchanged names with Shinobu. It was a wonderful first step. It's okay. I'm helping the injustice. I'm helping if I want to. Miss Butterfly doesn't need to have any psychological burden at all. Then let's say goodbye. I'm going home to boil medicine for my sister. Night. Shinobu smiled again. This was the second time she smiled at someone other than her sister this year. In her opinion, Mr. Tiandeo, who helped others without asking for anything in return, was really a good man. Hearing this, Fei-Yu-chan was visibly panicked. He needed an excuse to stay by Shinobu's side. If he followed him, he would definitely be regarded as a pervert. As soon as this thought came to him, he immediately cut it off. It was not easy to leave a good impression on Shinobu. What should I do? What should I do? Seeing that Night Shinobu was about to leave, Fei-Yu-chan panicked even more. Or cut himself with a knife, that would definitely work. After all, Shinobu was born in a medical family. Doctors, they save people. Ha ha ha. I'm such a genius. Facing Koko Shinobu, the usually calm Toma actually had thoughts of self-harm. He is really hopeless. So, he chose to pretend to be sick. In terms of acting, it was easy. In order to avoid the old man's training, he had practiced pretending to be sick to perfection. Ouch! It hurts, my stomach hurts so much. Fei-Yu-chan is a man of action. He covered his stomach and wailed in pain. His expression looked like he was dying. Sure enough, Koko Shinobu, who heard the sound, turned back. Her concerned voice sounded, which made Fei-Yu-chan feel happy. Mr. Tiandeo, what's wrong with you? Maybe I had a stomachache, and suddenly. Ouch, it hurts. Come to my house. I remember there are painkillers at home. I'll show you then. Koko Shinobu supported Fei-Yu-chan, on the one hand because he helped her, and on the other hand because of her responsibility as a doctor. Just then, the boss who sold tricolor dumplings ran over with a large bag of tricolor dumplings. Hey, young man, you haven't taken your dumplings yet. Fei-Yu-chan almost lost his concentration in a second after smelling the fragrance. But there is no need to think about it, food is definitely not as important as Shinobu. Three-color dumplings, so, love will disappear, right? No wonder you have a stomachache, this is the amount for 10 people, right? Looking at a large bag of three-color dumplings, Koko Shinobu took it, she nodded, and the boss ran away quickly. Mr. Tiandeo, I personally recommend not to overeat, especially sweets. You deserve your stomachache. Cao Shinobu, who had an occupational disease, became stern and said seriously. Okay, okay. I will never overeat, so let's eat these dumplings together. Mr. Tiandeo, your stomach doesn't hurt anymore. Looking at the energetic Fei-Yu-chan, Koko Shinobu breathed a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that she had an acute disease because of the sudden stomachache. If that was the case, she had to go to the hospital. Ouch! It hurts so much. Fei-Yu-chan immediately entered the performance state, and his voice became much weaker. Let's go to your house quickly, I need painkillers. Oh. Kohiko Shinobu couldn't help but speed up her pace. She asked softly, will walking so fast increase your pain? It's okay, the faster the better. Okay, bear with it. Kohiko Shinobu slowly left here with Fei-Yu-chan, and their figures gradually disappeared in the distance. However, in a dark corner not far away, there was a figure standing quietly, who had been silently observing Koko Shinobu and Fei Yuchen. Chapter 11. In the shadows, Xiao Beinei stretched lazily, revealing deep confusion in his eyes, and complained. You didn't go back in the middle of the night just to fool a girl, you pervert. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The snake head of the hornet nodded lightly to show his agreement. He could tell at a glance that Fei Yuchen was pretending to be sick. He thought that the guy was in trouble and worried for nothing. In order to find out what Fei Yuchen wanted to do, Xiao Beinei followed him from a distance. After passing through the complicated alleys, Shinobu Koko and Fei Yuchen stopped in front of a shabby thatched house on the outskirts of the town. Fei Yuchen looked at the shabby thatched house that could be blown by a gust of wind and sighed imperceptibly. To be honest, Fei Yuchen was so distressed when he saw the Butterfly Sisters' residence. He didn't expect Shinobu to live so badly. If only he could meet her earlier. It's a little shabby, don't mind. Seeing Fei Yuchen stunned, Shinobu Koko thought he was disgusted with the shabby thatched house. How could someone who could buy so many dumplings at once be short of money? No, no, no. Very good, I don't mind at all, really. Fei Yuchen waved his hands repeatedly, wanting to die. After all, who doesn't yearn for a good life? Mr. Tiandao, you are so strange, why are you so flustered? I know. Shinobu Koko didn't understand. She could vaguely feel that Tiandao Fei Yuchen was always very careful when dealing with her, as if he was afraid that she would hate him. I didn't. Before Fei Yuchen continued to explain, a very weak voice came from the thatched house, but the pain could not suppress the unique tenderness. Shinobu, are there guests? Or are you in trouble again? Pathological weakness mixed with a bit of worry, Shinobu Koko's face turned from sunny to cloudy, and she hurried into the house. Sister, I didn't cause any trouble. Also, lie down, I'll go boil the medicine right away. Fei Yuchen walked in. The room was filled with an old smell and dim light. He looked around and found that the furnishings here were extremely simple, with only a shabby wooden table, a straw mat and some bedding. The life of the Butterfly Sisters was worse than he imagined. If you think about it carefully, how good can the life of two little girls without parents be? On the straw mat next to her was Butterfly Chini, who had just gotten up. Because of her illness, her face was pale, but her pale face had a toughness and maturity that did not belong to this age. Of course, this young child should have been in the care of her parents, and she was also forced by life. Sir, has Xiao Shinobu caused you trouble? Seeing Fei Yuchen with a knife, Chini was a little panicked. She protected Butterfly Shinobu behind her like an old hen, and asked with a trembling voice. No, no, no. I'm not here to cause trouble. Before I knew it, I was treated as a bad guy again, oh. Hey. Does your stomach hurt? Koko Shinobu suddenly asked, which made Fei Yuchen very embarrassed. He secretly said in his heart that it was bad and he forgot about this matter. That. Actually, I feel much better. It may be because I have been different from ordinary people since I was a child. Ah ha ha ha. Fei Yuchen scratched his head in a bit of confusion and laughed foolishly. Hearing this, Koko Shinobu breathed a sigh of relief. It's good that nothing happened. From the beginning to the end, she never suspected that Fei Yuchen was pretending to be sick. By the way, since you are here, I will help you boil medicine. You two chat first. Fei Yuchen took the medicine bag from Koko Shinobu and ran out in a hurry. When he came, he saw a medicine jar outside. Sister. Although Mr. Tiandao carries a knife, he is not a bad guy. He helped me. Shinobu Koko hurriedly explained to her sister. While she was talking, she laughed again. Kane noticed this keenly, but did not say much. She didn't know what happened, but she was sure that the peer with the knife was not a threat. Outside the thatched house, Fei Yuchen sat next to the medicine jar with a look of disappointment, sighing. It seems that I am hated. I would not have brought a knife if I had known. Woohoo! You are kicked out, you pervert. You are pretending to be sick. Obaniai appeared beside Fei Yuchen at some point. He crossed his arms and spoke ruthlessly. Fei Yuchen reacted quickly, immediately covered Xiaobania's mouth, and whispered in his ear. First of all, I'm not a pervert. Secondly, give me a chance, don't expose me. Fei Yuchen said the most cowardly words in the toughest posture, and Xiaobania nodded, and Fei Yuchen let go of this elusive big daddy. Xiaobania stood aside with his arms folded, and Fei Chen laughed and sighed from time to time. He thought this guy was stupid. The child is very sick. At this moment, the door of the thatched hut opened, and Shinobu Koko came out with her sister. Mr. Tiandao, I'm deeply sorry for the misunderstanding just now. Thank you for saving Shinobu. Kane Koko looked at Toma with an apologetic look, her eyes revealing sincerity. Although she was wearing a patched coarse linen shirt, her every move exuded the temperament of a well-educated lady. After all, the Butterfly sisters were born into a medical family, with a wealthy family background and upbringing engraved in their bones. Kane's temperament was not erased by suffering. It's okay, this guy just likes to meddle in other people's business, don't worry about it. My name is Iguro Obanai, his friend. Obanai introduced himself. He didn't understand why Toma wanted to approach the sisters, but he believed in Zhen unconditionally. Hello, my name is Koko Kane. If you two don't mind, let us entertain you, okay? Ahem. Kane coughed a few times as she spoke. She came out of the hospital with pain. In this way, the fates that should have not interfered with each other intersected because of the existence of Toma. The future pillars of the Demon Slayer Corps also got to know each other in this way. By the way, we are all about the same age, so don't always call me Mr. Tendu Toma, everyone I know calls me Makoto. Also, the medicine is ready. Wait a minute, I'll do it. Koko Shinobu helped her sister back. As soon as the Butterfly sisters walked in, Banai looked indifferent and asked calmly. Do you know them? Hearing Banai's question, Toma's hand trembled and he almost dropped the medicine jar. Banai was even more certain that Toma's eyes when he first saw him were similar to today. It was the look of someone who met an acquaintance, an unintentional expression of true feelings. Do you believe in fate? Fei Yuzhen suddenly asked a mysterious question. At this time, the medicine fell into the bowl, and a layer of white mist rose, covering his eyes. Maybe I have seen you in my dream. Ha ha ha. Of course, how is that possible? I just like to meddle in other people's business. Fei Yuzhen said with a laugh. Iguro Zioban was stunned for a moment, and smiled under the bandage without saying much. If this is fate, it seems to be a good fate. Fate also made him meet a good person and gave him a knife that could atone for his sins. Chapter 12. The night was slightly cool, with a bright moon hanging in the sky and stars twinkling. The only furniture in Butterfly's house had been moved out. After all, there was not enough space in the house for 4 people, and there was no light. On the rotten wooden table, in addition to a bowl of rice, there was also a fish and a plate of pickles. This was the first meat for the 2 sisters in the past 2 months. For them, this meal was more sumptuous than the Chinese New Year. But in order to repay Fei Yuzhen's kindness, they took out the best things in the house. Another bowl. This is definitely the best meal I have ever eaten. Watching Shinobu eat, even white rice became fragrant, it was simply the best meal in the world. Fei Yuzhen thought so. Tiandao, you have a good appetite. It seems that your stomach must be fine. Butterfly Shinobu smiled and served Fei Yuzhen a bowl. She always cared about Fei Yuzhen's stomachache. After all, the pain suddenly came and then suddenly stopped. She was afraid that it was a disease that was not mentioned in medical books. However, seeing that he had such a good appetite, Shinobu was completely relieved. Ziobanai rolled her eyes at Fei Yuzhen. Even a fool could see that it was not easy for the sisters to cook such a meal, but you were still like a pig, speechless. Kane looked at the two and smiled. Soon, Ziobanai realized a problem. Why did he stay at someone else's house to eat in the middle of the night? Did he want to take them away? Wow! What a pervert! Hiss, hiss, hiss. Daibana suddenly approached Ziobanai's ear and made a rapid cry. Its yellow vertical pupils stared at a dilapidated thatched house not far ahead, revealing vigilance and uneasiness. He put down his bowl and chopsticks, his green and gold eyes flashed with cold light, and his eyes passed through the half-open door and the window. He saw a ghost flash by. Good for nothing, something's wrong. Who knew that just as Xiao Bani finished speaking, a snake-like monster penetrated the wooden house, or more precisely, a head with a whole spine attached. The head was completely black, with a sharp horn growing in the center of its forehead. Its skin had a strange texture, like a dry lake exposed to the sun, with dense cracks all over the surface. Seeing that it was too late, Xiao Bani swung the rotten wooden table and smashed it down. After a few days of exercise, his physical condition had improved a lot. In an instant, broken wood flew across, and the ghost head was smashed to the ground, with the spine winding and circling, wrapping around Xiao Baniai like a python. Although he was the future snake pillar, he was just a child after all, not to mention that he had no weapons. At the critical moment, a sharp red gold blade flashed, as if there was thunder, and Xiao Baniai had some tinnitus. When he came to his senses, the ghost snake had already run away. Unfortunately, the attack was dodged. "You two hide well." Fei Yuzhen stood beside Xiao Baniai and turned his head to the butterfly sisters. "You idiot, you want to kill me?" Xiao Baniai glared at Fei Yuzhen and complained, with a very resentful look. "Oh! You don't know my strength yet, you can't chop me." Fei Yuzhen patted Xiao Baniai's shoulder and comforted him. "Humph!" Xiao Baniai picked up the half-smashed table and stared at the thatched house in the distance. The ghost was still there. At this moment, a 2-meter-tall figure came from the opposite side of the thatched house. It didn't pass through the wall but smashed the whole house. Under the cold moonlight, the two saw the full appearance of the ghost. It was a ghost who looked very thin. His skin was a creepy pale white. His eyes were lifeless, like 2 dry wells. The spine ghost head that attacked everyone just now was wrapped around the neck of this ghost like a strange snake. "Wow, it's dressed similarly to you." Fei Yuzhen even mocked Xiao Banai. "It's different." Xiao Banai retorted seriously, and the corner of his mouth twitched, and he had the idea of beating this guy up. "I'm Bai Gu." The evil ghost bent down slightly and introduced himself. Its voice was like a dry stick scratching black and white, very harsh. "Long time no see, both of you." Fei Yuzhen. Xiao Banai. The two looked at each other, with an expression that you know it. "Ah! Bai Gu, I'm going to kill you." A roar exploded like thunder, breaking the silence around. This sound seemed to penetrate the sky and shake the whole world. No one dared to believe that the one who made this roar was the skinny Coco Shinobu. At this moment, her eyes were wide open, filled with endless anger and hatred. Her body was also trembling slightly, but this was not because of fear or tension, but because the anger deep in her heart had surpassed everything. "Shinobu, calm down. Run, Mom and Dad can't come back, we have to live." Kane burst into tears, she hugged her sister tightly, she was also angry, but they couldn't beat the man-eating evil ghost, she didn't understand why that guy could still find her and Shinobu. "Mr. Tiandeo, Mr. Iguro, please take Shinobu and run. I can hold it for a while, it's here to find us." Kane begged, her eyes were like sharp knives, sweeping away her tenderness and piercing into the body of the evil ghost. "Bai Gu, the name that the butterfly sisters will never forget until they die, because that is the name of their enemy, it killed their parents and destroyed their home." Fei Yuzhen waved his hand and said with a smile, "I forgot to tell you, we are both professional ghost hunters." Obaniai looked at Fei Yuzhen with a confused face, "I just joined for 2 weeks, and I haven't even received formal training." Immediately, he smiled and agreed with Fei Yuzhen's statement. "This guy is like a snake ghost, and it's disgusting just to look at him. All creatures like ghosts should die. Shinobu, do you want revenge? I'll help you kill it." Fei Yuzhen asked, and he subconsciously called out Shinobu's name. "Tiandeo, help me kill it. I want it to die. Kill it." Coco Shinobu shouted hysterically. She was originally irritable, and the monster that killed her parents was right in front of her. She wanted it to die, she longed for it to die, she wanted revenge, no matter who it was, as long as they could kill Bai Gu. Bai Gu looked at the 4 children in front of him, without any interest, as if killing them would be effortless. The only thing that motivated him was an unfinished meal. He had been craving those 2 little girls for a long time, and he didn't expect to meet them here. "2 stupid little human ghosts, as long as you don't disturb me to refill my meal, you can go." Bai Gu slowly raised his dry branch-like arms and swung them gently. His hoarse and low voice sounded like a call from the depths of hell, full of the breath of death. This voice echoed in the silent night, as if to swallow up the whole world. In Bai Gu's opinion, it gave humans a chance to survive, and the 2 little human ghosts would definitely run away crying. Humans are such fragile creatures, even if they are delicious. But things went against his wishes, and Fei Yuzhen's stubborn and unyielding voice sounded. "I won't run away, if you have the guts, kill him." Chapter 13. Iguro Xiaobanai glared at Fei Yuzhen, the table leg in his hand was already thirsty, if it weren't for the enemy, he would definitely kill him. "Why are you pointing at me to provoke the enemy?" The next moment, Fei Yuchen turned into a red gold lightning and rushed straight to Baigu, leaving only a remorseless word. Don't mind it, just distract the enemy. Tisk, you bastard! Xiaobanai cursed at Fei Yuchen. At the moment when Fei Yuchen approached Baigu, he swung 5 red gold slashes at a speed invisible to the naked eye. The 5 slashes were connected end to end, forming a larger lightning-shaped slash in front of Baigu. Thunder-breathing second form Rice Soul. The thunder was coming, but Baigu didn't change his face. The spine snake whip rotated around it and bounced off Fei Yuchen's attack. At the same time, the pale and skinny fist went straight to Fei Yuchen's face, and the terrifying fist pressure made him a little breathless. There was a sound of air explosion, and the invisible whirlwind swept away from Fei Yuchen's side face, and many cracks appeared on the ground behind him. This is Baigu's blood ghost technique, Wind Fist. After a short test, Fei Yuchen and Baigu pulled away. This ghost is very strong, but he is more excited. Only strong enemies can make people grow. What's more, this guy is Shinobu's enemy, which makes people want to kill him. I take back what I said just now, you deserve to be eaten by me. Seeing that Fei Yuchen could dodge his wind fist in an instant, Baigu looked at him with admiration, and he was going to go all out. Very good, that's why I want to kill you even more. Fei Yuchen's eyes became fiery, like boiling magma, and the fighting spirit was rolling. Thunder breathing 3 forms gathering mosquitoes into thunder. He took a step and the ground beneath his feet cracked. The next second, gravel flew and Fei Yuchen arrived in an instant. He moved around the bones at a high speed, leaving red gold waves of lightning wherever his figure passed. Hee. This pervert is a bit too strong. Is this guy really the same age as me? Xiao Bani threw away the shabby wooden table, which was less than a quarter of it, and was filled with emotion. This level of battle was not something he could intervene in. He was even more eager to become stronger than Fei Yuchen and kill more ghosts. In the blink of an eye, the rolling thunder and Fei Yuchen's moving figure formed a thunder prison, and this prison was shrinking towards the bones. At the same time, there were continuous high heat slashes at the bones, and the endless slashes were like an uninterrupted waltz. The bones smiled contemptuously, it held one end of the spine snake, and swung it wildly, and even did not forget to comment. Human little ghost, interesting. The speed of the bone whip was getting faster and faster. In an instant, a cocoon formed by the wind faced the red gold lightning. The sound of ding dong dong kept echoing, like an exciting symphony, the knife flashed, the whip was waving, and the sparks of metal collision splashed in the air, like fireworks blooming in the night sky. The contest between one man and one ghost was dazzling. Suddenly, the white wind cocoon exploded, and the black one-horned ghost head rushed straight towards Fei Yuchen. Unfortunately, it did not hit, and Fei Yuchen dodged with his keen perception. However, under such dense wind blades, his body was covered with bloodstains, and his clothes were torn into pieces of rags, looking very embarrassed. Baigu was also uncomfortable, with burnt black knife wounds on his body, which were obviously much deeper than those on Fei Yuchen. In this confrontation, he was at a disadvantage. The smell of blood spread, and it shrugged its nose, immediately showing a refreshing and comfortable look. Was it rare blood, or a treasure? What an unexpected reward! Not far away, Coco Shinobu witnessed the whole process. Looking at the bloodstains on Fei Yuchen's body, her anger subsided a lot. For Zhen, she was just a stranger. He had only been with her for a few hours. Why did he do this for her? Tiandao, I don't. Coco Shinobu's lips trembled slightly. She regretted it. She didn't want to involve others in her hatred, and she didn't want him to get hurt. Shinobu, I'm fine. Wait for me to help you get revenge. Tiandao Fei Yuchen interrupted Coco Shinobu and rushed towards Baigu again. Idiot! Baigu cursed in his heart. He was a ghost. The biggest difference between ghosts and humans was that they could recover. Even if this guy was strong, his physical strength was not unlimited. It was really stupid. It was obvious that there was no problem in running away. The next second, its pupils shook, because the bloodstains on Fei Yuchen's body had scabbed. Is this guy also a ghost? Is he the same kind? Baigu was confused. How could humans have such recovery ability? At the moment when it was stunned, the flying feathers that leaped high up were like a red gold meteor, with him as the center. Countless red gold slashes burst out. Thunder breath land type lightning and thunder. In an instant, the blade wind penetrated Baigu's body, and blood splattered everywhere. When Bai Gu came to his senses, Fei Yuzhen had come behind him, and his limbs flew out. But the spine snake moved on its own. Bai Gu used up his last strength to aim at Fei Yuzhen's heart. With his body half shorter, he showed a winner's smile. Win! After all, it was just an arrogant kid who dared to leave his back to the enemy. Just when it thought everything was over, the broken wooden table fell from mid-air and completely turned into a pile of sawdust, and the spine snake was smashed down again. Good for nothing, what else can you do besides eating and showing off? Oh Bani cursed, he brushed off the dust on his hands, and kicked the limbless Bai Gu away. Fei Yuzhen glanced at Xiao Bani, smiled meanly, and said, "Aren't you here? Next time, just die, hum." Xiao Bani turned his head and cursed. Bai Gu's limbs were still growing slowly, because it hadn't eaten humans for a month, its physical strength was almost dry, and its recovery ability was greatly weakened. Otherwise, it would never have been defeated by a stinky kid. Blame it for being too picky about food. It turns out that being picky is a bad habit. Fei Yuzhen stabbed Bai Gu's heart with a knife, causing it to be seriously injured. It patted its mouth and taunted. "Young ghost, eat your fill before going out next time." "But there will be no next time. Human, why don't you cut off my neck?" As soon as Bai Gu finished speaking, 5 knife lights flashed, and its limbs that had not yet recovered were broken again, and its body was split into 2. Now, it has become completely disabled, at least it can't recover in a short time. The splattered ghost blood slowly flowed down from his forehead, dyeing half of Fei Yuzhen's face red, which looked a little scary under the silver moonlight. He did not answer, but held the knife and walked towards the butterfly sisters step by step. If it were any other time, he would definitely cut off the ghost's neck at the first time, but not today. Because its enemy is here, Fei Yuzhen did everything just so that Shinobu could kill the enemy with her own hands, so that she would at least feel better. He slowly walked to Shinobu Koko, handed her the sharp blade in his hand that was flashing with cold light, and a brilliant smile bloomed on his face, and said gently, "Come and take revenge." Chapter 14. Tiandao, you. Looking at Fei Yuzhen's eyes, Koko Shinobu was speechless, or she didn't know what to say. She was in a complicated mood now. In addition to hatred, there was another emotion like a dying seed waiting for nectar, but she didn't understand that feeling now. "Mr. Tiandao, why did you do this for us?" Unlike her sister, Koko Kane felt more grateful than doubt. After all, she dreamed of killing the culprit who killed her parents. "I like to meddle in other people's business. Do what you want to do." As a time traveler, Fei Yuzhen's mood was the most complicated. He knew the direction of the story, what these people were thinking, and their shortcomings. Making up for this shortcoming might be his mission to be born into this world. The way to salvation is in it. Koko Shinobu took over the Nichiren sword that was still dripping with blood. Her hands were shaking, and the pungent smell of blood rushed into her nose, choking her to cough. But a warm hand held her little hand. It was Kane. An elder sister is like a mother. "Xiao Shinobu, let's go for revenge." "Yes." The eyes of the butterfly sisters became firm. They walked hand in hand towards the skeletons that had become corpses. They finally didn't have to hide their anger in their hearts. "To kill the evil ghost, you must cut off its neck," Fei Yuzhen reminded. Shinobu Koko stood in front of the evil ghost who killed her parents. The scenes of the rainy night 2 years ago flashed before her eyes, and tears could not stop falling. It was raining continuously, and the sky was so gloomy that it was about to collapse. In front of the bones stood a bloody man, and behind him were the ruins of the residential houses. The bloody man held a bloody kitchen knife tightly in his hand, and his eyes were full of determination and unyielding. His body trembled slightly, and every breath seemed so difficult, as if he would fall down the next moment. Even though his breath was so weak that it was almost undetectable, he still insisted on standing. Looking closely, you can find more than a dozen deep blood holes on his body, and blood is constantly pouring out of the wounds. "Interesting, if you can take another hit from me without falling, I can consider not killing them." "Monster, come on." The man spit out blood and laughed, and his peripheral vision caught a glimpse of his wife and daughter who had already run away. As long as they ran away, it didn't matter whether he died or not. He just wanted them to be alive. The next second, the spine whip flew past the man's ear and cut off his ear. At the same time, a hand knife pierced his heart. In the distance, Koko Shinobu, who was hiding in her mother's arms, saw this scene, and she almost cried hoarse. It was a mother's instinctive reaction. The woman pushed Kane away and sent Koko Shinobu to her arms. Dye, Erye, live. Run. The spine whip pierced the woman's chest, and the warm blood splashed Koko Shinobu's face. In an instant, her mind went blank. Baigu said with a playful look on his face, "It seems that you are going to fall down, and your wife and daughter are dead." However, the man could no longer hear its mockery. He was dead, but his arms were still tightly clamped on Baigu's arms, and his nails were digging into his flesh. Damn it! Baigu showed a disgusted expression on his face, and he swung his fist hard, and a powerful force burst out instantly. As he swung his fist, the man's body was directly shattered, and half of his body turned into a pool of blood and splashed on the ground. Baigu looked at this scene, and a trace of disdain and indifference flashed in his eyes. When it came to its senses, the butterfly sisters had disappeared. They escaped with the last hope of their parents. It walked forward slowly, and suddenly, the butterfly sister's mother's hands hugged its legs. This was the last strength of a mother. The rain was getting heavier and heavier, as if it had submerged the whole world, and the sound of tearing muscles and chewing was mixed in the rain. A bloody rain curtain destroyed the happy family of four. Soon, the heavy rain curtain engulfed the whole world. However, a knife cut through the rain curtain and also cut through the past. Kaoru Kane stood behind her sister, holding her sister's hands with both hands, while Kaoru Shinobu held the knife that was still dripping with blood. The bones were beheaded, and its remains were dissipating. Its eyes did not stop at the butterfly sisters who killed it but fell not far away. Tiandao Fiuchen was standing there. When the great revenge is avenged, the knot in the heart will slowly melt. The butterfly sisters collapsed on the ground, and with a clang, the knife fell to the ground. Dad, Mom, we have revenge. In the silent night, a bright full moon hung in the night sky, shedding soft light. The butterfly sisters hugged each other tightly, tears pouring out like a broken dam, and years of the suppressed pain and anger were released. Their bodies trembled slightly, and their cries intertwined and resounded throughout the suburbs. Shinobu Koko sobbed and said, "Sister, sister, we finally got revenge." Kane Koko suppressed her tears. She gently stroked Shinobu Koko's hair, and whispered to comfort her, "Shinobu, we got revenge, smile more in the future, live together with your parents. Yet, live together." As time went by, their cries gradually subsided, replaced by a sense of relief and tranquility. Obanai looked at the scene in front of him quietly. He didn't expect the sisters to be victims of the evil spirit. The evil spirit is really damned. He looked at Fiuchen again, and said in his heart, "This guy did it on purpose. Why do I have an illusion that he knows something?" Facing the scrutinizing eyes of Obanai, Toma turned his head aside and whistled nonchalantly. "Damn it! Will Obanai lust after my body? Is it because I affected the storyline that this guy has a problem with his orientation? Shouldn't it be, shouldn't it be? Obanai." The calmed-down Koko Shinobu picked up the knife and personally handed it to Toma. She smiled at someone other than her sister for the fourth time. "Matsu, thank you, you are such a good person, the best person in the world." "Oh yeah." Toma jumped up happily because Shinobu finally called his name. So, this guy even thought of the name of his future child. Koko Shinobu. "Kane. Obanai, you are sick." Kane pulled Shinobu and bowed solemnly. The revenge was all thanks to Mr. Tiandao. "Toma, thank you." As she said this, she was about to pull Shinobu to kneel down, but Toma stopped her in time. "Forget it," I said, "it's really okay." After thanking Toma, the butterfly sisters thanked Obanai again. After all, he also helped. This sudden move made Obanai a little flustered, because he obviously didn't do anything. "I didn't do anything, thank you for that. By the way, what are your plans for the future? The house is ruined. Like you, I have been persecuted by evil spirits, and I joined the Demon Slayer Corps. I plan to kill all those things in the future. Are you interested in joining us?" Obanai always remembered Toma's original purpose. He just wanted to take the sisters away, especially the skinny dwarf, so he simply mentioned it for him. Chapter 15. I agree. I am willing to go with Shin to kill all the evil spirits in the world. Shinobu Koko said without hesitation. Haiwa Shin gave her a knife to cut off the past, and she was determined to give him a knife back. Yet, Kane Koko nodded, with a firm light in her eyes, "I don't want other people to become unfortunate because of evil spirits. I want them to have a happy life, so I choose to join your organization. No matter what the purpose is, once those who have been hurt by ghosts gather together, they will firmly move towards the future without ghosts. Haiwashin hopes that Shinobu Koko will not embark on this path, because killing ghosts is really a life-threatening action, but he respects their choice. By the way, we too can't decide whether to join the Demon Slayer Corps. We have to ask the Lord. Come with us first. The four returned to Fuji's house. Rengoku Makijiro had already rested, and the owner of Fuji's house also arranged accommodation for the Butterfly Sisters. At dawn, Makijiro, who came to eat breakfast, was stunned at the door. He rubbed his eyes and looked surprised. He quickly pulled Toma and Obina aside and said earnestly, "You two are still young, there is no rush to find a wife. Also, what's the matter with those two girls? The Demon Slayer Corps is forbidden to bully ordinary people." Obina spread his hands, pointed at Toma with an innocent face, and said something misleading, "Last night, I just followed Makoto, and then Makoto went to the house of the sisters." Obina stopped talking here. He thought for a while and added, "Oh. By the way, the sisters cried, and cried miserably." Toma opened his mouth immediately. "What does this guy mean?" He said half of the words. "What a bastard! Followed a strange girl? Made her cry? What happened?" Makijiro's eyes turned cold, and he almost drew his sword. It seemed necessary to discipline the brat on behalf of Senior Kawashima. It's okay if he has bad intentions. Obina sat back at the table as if nothing had happened, watching the show while eating. Sister Butterfly did cry, and what he said was all true. "Uncle, please listen to my excuses, no explanation, things are very complicated." Fei-Chen couldn't say anything bitter. What was going on? Obina was a swindler. Makijiro didn't listen, he didn't come home at night, and brought back two little girls when he came back. It was hard not to be suspicious. Bad boy, bullying girls, beat him up first. As soon as he finished speaking, a thin figure blocked Fei-Chen. It was Koko Shinobu. She was not shy like other girls, she was a straightforward girl who would directly express her words and actions. "This uncle really saved me and my sister, and helped us get revenge. He is right." Who knew that Rengoku Makijiro put his hands on his hips and laughed. "Ha ha ha. I haven't asked clearly yet, why hit him, just a joke. Eat, eat." Kane looked at her sister with a smile, without saying much. Her sister has become different. After breakfast, Makijiro learned about what happened, expressed regret for the experience of the Butterfly Sisters, and praised Fei-Chen and Obina. He will write a letter to tell the Lord about the matter, and he believes that the Lord will also sympathize with the experience of the Butterfly Sisters. Makijiro's crow left Fuji's house with the letter, flying over many towns and into the uninhabited mountains. The endless woods are like a green ocean, with no end in sight. When the breeze blows gently, the leaves rustle, as if it is the beautiful music played by nature, which makes people feel relaxed and happy. In the dense bushes, there is an extremely hidden building complex, which is completely hidden between the mountains and trees, and perfectly integrated with the place. This is one of the headquarters of the Demon Slayer Corps. Even the Demon King Muzan finds it difficult to find it. The crow flew over one house after another and finally landed in a secluded small courtyard. There is a winding cobblestone path in the courtyard. On one side of the path is a shallow pond, and next to the pond is a wooden pavilion. In the pavilion, there is a boy in white clothes. The boy has a handsome face, gentle and elegant, with clear and bright eyes, like a shining star. At this moment, he is sitting there quietly, holding a book in his hand, reading with full concentration. This person is the 97th head of the Demon Slayer Corps, the 14-year-old Yubayashiki Yoya. At that time, the young lord had not been cursed and disfigured, and was still the most handsome boy in this forest. "My lord, Purgatory has a letter for you." The crow landed on the stone table, and its loud voice broke the quiet atmosphere. Yubayashiki Yoya was not annoyed but rubbed the crow's head. He said a handful of rice, a gentle tone like the warm sun in the cold winter, made the crow's head light, and the running all the way disappeared in an instant. "Taro, you have worked hard." He opened the letter and read it. During this time, a deep sadness flashed in the eyes of the lord. He was sad for the experience of the Butterfly Sisters. After a while, Yubayashiki Yoya let out a long sigh and said to Taro, "Tell Senior Makijiro that I agreed. If the Butterfly Sisters want, go to the medical room of the Demon Slayer Corps to help." Their knowledge will be needed there. Okay, I know, Lord. Taro nodded and spread his wings. After the crow flew away, a mature and intellectual white-haired elder sister appeared beside Yubayashiki Yoya. She had lavender eyes and exuded a kind of worldly temperament, like a shrine maiden away from the world. Yubayashiki Amini, born in a priest family, married the lord a year ago. Although it was a family marriage, the two treated each other with respect. Yubayashiki Amini is 4 years older than Yoya, and standing beside him is more like his sister. Yaya, it's cold outside, go back. Amina covered her husband with a blanket, and her voice full of concern sounded. Yoya held his wife's hand and said with a smile, "It's okay, the sun is better outside, you should get more Sunday. Then I'll accompany you." Amina moved a wooden chair aside and quietly accompanied her husband. "Amina, help me get some paper and pen, I want to write." "Yes." After a while, she brought rice paper and a brush, grinding them aside, and the fragrance of ink spread. This is the top-grade ink from Toma's hometown. For the Yubayashiki family, this is not a difficult task. They can maintain an organization of hundreds of people for hundreds of years, and their financial resources are naturally strong. Yubayashiki Yoya picked up a pen and wrote 5 big characters on the paper. It was a person's name. Tianyan looked at it curiously and read it out loud. Tendo Fiiuchen. This is the apprentice of Senior Kawashima. She was impressed by this name. He mentioned it many times in the correspondence with Senior Kawashima, and he mentioned it very proudly. As the strongest pillar of the previous generation, the person who could be praised by him must be extraordinary. Yubayashiki Yoya had a plain and expectant smile on his face and said, "Tendo has killed 3 demons. He is only 12 years old and has not even participated in the final selection. I am looking forward to meeting him." Chapter 16. Doshin Town. This town is as peaceful and tranquil as usual. Unlike the imperial capital, this remote town has no electricity, and people live a life of going out early and returning late. Developed countries have their own prosperity, and remote areas have their own fireworks. Fiyu Chen walked on the streets of the town, feeling at ease. He knew the people here, and here was his only relative. "Makoto, long time no see." "Well, I'm back, Grandma Shizuko." "Makoto, do you want to work here? I'll give you double the salary." Uncle Yamamoto made his 870th invitation. "No. Ah. It's so painful to refuse so cleanly." Uncle Yamamoto hugged his head, looking regretful. Rengoku Makijiro took Iguro Obanai and the Butterfly Sisters back to the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. Fiyu Chen was going to go there, but he decided to come back to see the old man first. After saying hello to the acquaintances in the town, he walked out of the town and bought a lot of delicious food by the way, so that the money given by the old man was spent. "Really?" In a trance, Feiyuzhen heard a familiar voice, like a burning fire, disturbing his heart. "Oh, how is it possible? It's all hallucinations, I must be starving." He talked to himself and finished the tempura fried shrimp in his hand in a few bites. "Really?" The voice of Koko Shinobu sounded again. Feiyuzhen turned his head and looked, and was immediately stunned. The distant sky was dyed orange and purple, like a huge oil painting. The afterglow of the sunset was like a golden silk thread, hanging from the distant horizon and falling on the ground. Each afterglow brought a warm and soft light, illuminating everything around. Under the gentle sunset, there stood a girl as delicate as a porcelain doll, with her hands behind her back, her chest heaving slightly, and it seemed that she was jogging over. The purple hair fluttered in the wind, and a pair of lively purple eyes stared at Feiyuzhen, with a bright and straightforward smile on the corner of her mouth. It was Koko Shinobu. As a super sister control, she did not choose to follow the main force to the headquarters, but hurriedly said goodbye and chased to Doshin town. She wanted to see the peach blossoms flying all over the mountains as Feiyuzhen said, and she wanted to see his home. "Why, don't you welcome me to your home?" Seeing Feiyuzhen didn't say a word, she asked. "Damn it! It's not a dream, Shinobu is standing there, alive. Ha ha ha. Omega. No, no, no." Feiyuzhen waved his hands quickly. After all, happiness came too suddenly, and he was a little flattered. "Welcome, warm welcome. You just came at the wrong season, the peach blossoms have already withered. If you come again in autumn, you can eat peaches." The two walked side by side towards Doshin. Fiyu Chen was like a chirping little sparrow, sharing everything about Doshin. Koko Shinobu was like a quiet little sheep, just asking questions from time to time. By the way, can you leave Sister Hui? Fei Yu-chen asked. Although they were the same age, Kane was a few months older than him, so he naturally called her Sister Hui. Koko Shinobu crossed his arms and complained, I'm like the kind of little brat who can't leave his sister. That's true, there's no doubt about that. Fei Yu-chen nodded very seriously and said naturally, he didn't even realize what he said. Hey! Shinobu clenched his small fist and stared at Fei Yu-chen angrily. I left my sister to come to you, and you actually said that I was a little brat who can't leave my sister. Damn! What did I say? It was all the fault of the plot. In a moment of urgency, Fei Yuzhen chose to take the blame. Oh Bani, I said you are a follower of Huiji, a super sister Khan. It's all what he said. At this moment, Xiao Bani, who was on his way, sneezed. He murmured in his heart, Zhen, that good for nothing, secretly scolded me again, how hateful. Seeing this, Koko Shinobu chuckled, her smile was as beautiful as a flower. Then it's all Xiao Bani's fault. Yes, yes, yes. It's all Xiao Bani's fault. Fei Yuzhen nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. When there is no danger, good brothers are used in this way. As the saying goes, raise brothers for a lifetime, and use them for a while. Unknowingly, the two came to the wooden house on the mountainside. Kawahima Jigoro sat in front of the door, smoking leisurely, and his pipe swayed rhythmically. The disciple came into view, which made Mr. Kawashima very happy, but he did not show it. It was not until Shinobu Koko came out from behind his good disciple that the old man fell off the recliner in shock. Ouch, my waist! The old man screamed, but he did not care. He only cared about one question. Girl? How could this traitor go out and bring back a girl? In the imagination of Mr. Kawashima, Fei Yu-chen is a big bad wolf, and Koko Shinobu is a weak, pitiful and helpless little white rabbit. After all, they have lived together for so many years, and the old man can't imagine who can make his apprentice suffer. So he just preconceived. Grandpa, are you okay? Koko Shinobu adheres to the doctor's philosophy of curing diseases and saving lives, and helps Fei Yu-chen to help the old man up. I say, old man, I know you miss me, but you don't have to be so excited, right? Fei Yu-chen's heart is warm, the old man still loves me. Stinky boy, how did you trick the girl back? Fei Yu-chen was greeted by the old man's rolling eyes and doubts. Grandpa, no, I came here on my own initiative. Please sit down, I'll rub your waist for you, my family has been practicing medicine for generations, it's very effective. Koko Shinobu's sweet voice sounded, and the old man's heart was about to bloom, what a good girl. No, she came back on her own initiative. He glanced at the confused Fei Yu-chen. In addition to the feeling of helplessness of a flower stuck in cow dung, he also felt the pride of a child who had grown up. Such a young child knows to find a child bride. Damn it, who taught him? Anyway, it wasn't me. Fei Yu-chen. Looking at the extremely complicated changes in the old man's expression, he could hardly imagine what happened. Grandpa, my name is Koko Shinobu, and I'm Shinobu's friend. Shinobu always mentions you, he misses you very much. Okay, okay. So you're friends, not bad, not bad. Old man Kawashima nodded with a look of relief. He looked at Fei Yu-chen and waved his hand, why are you still standing there? Go to the town to buy some delicious food to entertain the guests. Oh. Fei Yu-chen left with a depressed look on his face. The old man must have been possessed by a ghost. He was too kind, and he was a little uncomfortable with the kindness. But it seemed that the old man was very satisfied with Shinobu, so he was relieved. After a while, Fei Yuzhen returned to the wooden house with a lot of bags. He saw familiar bedding piled up at the door. Hey! Isn't that mine? Just then, the old man came out with a pillow. He glanced at his apprentice and said, you sleep outside tonight, and the girl sleeps in your room. Of course, the old man just took out his bedding to dry. How could he let his apprentice sleep outside? He just liked to say that. Chapter 17. It was late at night. Fei Yuzhen tiptoed out of the old man's room, climbed onto the roof skillfully, and lay down leisurely to look at the stars. Suddenly, one end of the ladder was placed on the roof, followed by the sound of stepping on wood. There was a creaking sound, and when he looked up, Koko Shinobu's little head popped out from under the eaves. Zhen, what are you doing? Looking at the stars. As he said, Fei Yuzhen pointed down, and Coco Shinobu looked and was scared to the point that she almost fell down because it was too high. Ah, ah, ah. Just when she was about to fall, Fei Yuzhen held her hand and pulled her up. You are so young and don't learn well. You only know how to take advantage of others, you hooligan. A little angel Fei Yuzhen popped up and pointed at Fei Yuzhen and scolded him. The next second, a little devil Fei Yuchen kicked the angel away and said triumphantly. Stupid, what are you talking about? I just saved someone. What bad intentions can there be? Zhen. You are so rude. You hold the girl's hand and don't let go. Coco Shinobu gave Fei Yuchen a slap and said angrily, just like a little hamster. I'm afraid you will fall. Fei Yuchen hurriedly let go of her and looked aside with a guilty conscience. In this way, there was another little girl on the roof of Kawashima's house. After lying for a while, Fei Yuchen took out a small glass bottle filled with red liquid from his arms. The shape of the glass bottle was a miniature Q version of Fei Yuchen. He stuffed the glass bottle to Shinobu, who was a little confused. What is this? Save your life. What? Kaocho Shinobu's head was full of small question marks, big eyes, and big questions. Take a sip when you are injured, it can speed up the healing of the wound, it is a precious medicine handed down from my family. Of course, take a sip when you are sick, it also works, the shelf life is 1 month. Listening to Fei Yuchen's explanation, curious baby Coco Ren immediately broke the show and said seriously. But Grandpa Kawashima said that you were picked up by him, how could there be a family heirloom medicine? The old man really said everything. Also, are the girls nowadays so hard to fool? The scientific name is Save Your Life for 3000 years, and the common name is Fei Yuchen's blood. He was afraid that people would find it a bit unacceptable if he said it bluntly, so he simply gave it such a name. It is really bloody, but it can really save lives, and Grandpa Kawashima can guarantee it. Oh. Just keep it for use, we are all family, I can't poison you. Coco Ren pulled out the stopper, put it close to her nose, and sniffed it carefully. A faint smell of rust, this is blood. Your blood? Yes. I have a special physique, a big appetite, and my blood also has a strange effect. If you think it's disgusting, forget it. After all, it's a bit strange to let you drink my blood. Fei Yuzhen said calmly. After all, only ghosts drink blood and eat meat, which is difficult for normal people to accept. Thank you very much. It can really save lives at critical moments. You are like ghosts in this respect. Coco Shinobu accepted it happily. She had noticed Fei Yuzhen's specialness a long time ago. It was an instinctive reaction as a doctor. In the battle with Baigu that night, she witnessed with her own eyes that the wound of Zhen scabbed in less than a minute. This is not something a normal person can do. You can ask me if you don't have it. Seeing Coco Shinobu accept it, Fei Yuzhen smiled happily. Your glass bottle is very interesting, and it has expressions. Coco Shinobu held the Q version of Fei Yuzhen and smiled, revealing a pair of shallow dimples. As soon as she finished speaking, there were 8 small glass bottles between Fei Yuchen's fingers. Laughing, crying, angry. There were small bottles with various expressions, all thanks to the glass-making uncle in Doshan town. There are plenty of these. Before Shinobu Coco could reply, old man Kawashima's angry scolding rang out. Little bastard, climbing on the roof again. You don't sleep in the middle of the night, do you want to go to heaven? Alas! Fei Yuchen shook his head and said, Shinobu, sleep, otherwise I will be beaten. You don't know that the old man always beats me with moves. In this way, Shinobu Coco and this pair of enemies lived together for a week. A week later, the two bid farewell to Jigoro Kawashima. Their next stop is the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. Regarding the breathing method, Tiandao Fei Yuchen has a grand wish. Since the 5 major breathing techniques were born from the initial breathing technique, the sun breathing, by observing the 5 major breathing techniques, he believed that he could do one thing with his talent, that is, reverse. Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. A carefree young man in a black kimono stood at the entrance of the headquarters, with a look on his face that was enough to show his masculinity. Just with a cheerful smile and standing there, the boy is like a little sun. The boy has long yellow hair, and his fever is burning red. Under his thick black sword eyebrows are a pair of bright eyes. In addition to this passion, there is also a bit of tenderness between the boy's eyebrows. Why hasn't my father arrived yet? Rengoku Kyojuro murmured. Since his father came back, he always mentioned the boy named Tiendao Fiuchen. Kyojuro himself also developed a great interest in this guy he had never met, especially because the medicine he gave stabilized his mother's condition. It can be said that Kyojuro almost regarded Fiuchen as his own brother. While the enthusiastic elder brother was anxiously waiting, two small figures appeared on the horizon. It was Fiuchen and Koko Shinobu. Wow, the headquarters is really well hidden. If it weren't for the crow, we would definitely get lost. Shinobu Koko looked into the distance, with an irrepressible joy on her face, because she could finally see her sister. Fiuchen was not as excited as Shinobu, after all, he knew too much. But there was one thing he particularly liked, the scenery of the headquarters was really beautiful. Kyojuro stared at the distance intently, and at this moment, the image of Fiuchen was loading into his brain. Deep red hair, golden pupils, and a girl by his side. The identity was confirmed, and it was my half-brother who recognized me. Makoto. Please accept my greetings, thank you for saving my mother. Under Fiuchen's expression of shock, he watched his elder brother slide to his knees in front of him. Damn it! Brother, you'll shorten my lifespan if you do this. Hey! Brother! Kyojuro stood up, brushed off the dust on his body, and hugged Fiuchen's shoulders. He laughed 3 times and said, Since Brother Zhen admits that I am the eldest brother, let's become sworn brothers. Things developed too fast, Fiuchen's brain had crashed. He knew that the eldest brother was passionate, but he didn't expect the temperature to be so high that they became sworn brothers the first time they met. Stop, stop, stop. This is the first time we meet. Yes, yes, yes. Kyojuro nodded. Do you know who I am? Yes, Zhen. I don't even know who you are. If he didn't know the plot, Fiuchen really didn't know. I am Rengoku Kyojuro, 12 years old, my father is Rengoku Makijuro, my mother is Rengoku. The eldest brother is an honest child, his sincere eyes are like living gods and Buddhas, shining. Can you become sworn brothers with me now? Fiuchen's head is still confused, what is this about my reincarnation in another world, the eldest brother is obsessed with becoming sworn brothers with me? Chapter 18. Brother, there is no rush to become sworn brothers. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Fiuchen also put his arm around his brother's shoulders and said with a smile. Then come to my house. I have prepared the room for you. My mother has been talking about you all the time. Please let me thank you again for treating my mother's illness. In recent years, Rengoku Liuhuo's condition has become more and more serious. The medical department of the Demon Slayer Corps is completely helpless. Until Makijuro brought back the bottle of medicine, Rengoku Liuhuo's condition stabilized. For the Rengoku family, this matter has always been like a big stone pressing down, making people breathless. It is no exaggeration to say that Fiuchen swept away the haze of the Rengoku family, and his status in their hearts soared straight up, not inferior to the Lord at all. Brother, forget it, if you treat me as a brother, don't do this. Rengoku, a good-for-nothing likes to meddle in other people's business, just get used to it. Xiao Benai's voice suddenly interrupted, and he sat on the wooden wall, as if suspended in the air. Long time no see. Yet. Benai nodded, a true aloof male god, I'm going to train. He just wanted to see Toma, and had no other purpose. Toma and Kyojuro walked in front, arm in arm, and Shinobu Koko followed behind. The relationship between boys is so strange, they just met for the first time. Shinobu Koko was deeply puzzled by their behavior. Shinobu Koko's destination was the medical department, and Toma was summoned by the Lord. After separating from Kyojuro, he was taken to the Lord's mansion by the members of Cage. In the Demon Slayer Corps, the most confidential place is the Swordsmith village, and the Lord's residence is the second most confidential place. After a winding forest path, the members of Cage took Toma to a clearing in the forest. This clearing is square, and the trees on all 4 sides are trimmed exactly the same. Standing in the center of the clearing, it is basically impossible to tell the east, south, west, and north. Even Yin, who led the way, only remembered the section of the road he was responsible for. In short, it was easy to get lost. Mr. Tiendao, please wait here. A crow will lead the way for you next. The masked team member in black uniform spoke kindly. He bowed slightly. It was the first time he saw the Lord summon such a young swordsman by name. There was more or less respect in his heart. After all, every swordsman who rushed to the front line deserved respect. Thank you, please take care of me in the future. Fei Yuzhen smiled and thanked, watching Yin's team members leave. After a while, a crow rushed out of the dense woods, holding a black belt for blindfolding. Please cover your eyes. Only the pillar can know the location of the Lord's residence. The crow spoke in a very polite manner. Okay. Fei Yuzhen did as he was told. Then please take 3 steps to the left and go straight. Listen to my command. The crow flew in front and Fei Yuzhen chased behind. During this time, not even a leaf could touch him. After covering his face, he could better train his perception, so why not do it? About an hour later, Fei Yuzhen received the order from the crow to stop. He untied the blindfold and saw a tall wall. To be precise, it was a man like a mountain. Even if he had a 10-year membership card in the gym, it was impossible to train such muscles. Those were perfect and shining super muscles. Sensing Fei Yuzhen's unique aura, Bai Minjiahu Xingming turned around. Fei Yuzhen looked up and looked into the pair of white lifeless eyes. Although the other party was blind, he had an illusion of being spied on. This is the big brother of the future 9 pillars, the rock pillar with a body tempered to the extreme Bai Minjiahu Xingming. At this time, Bai Minjiahu Xingmei was only 19 years old. Except for being a little younger, his outfit was similar to what Fei Yuzhen remembered. A monk-like giant with a very long scar on his forehead, wearing a brown cassock with the words Namo Amitabha on it over the dark brown Demon Slayer Corps uniform. Sir, what are you doing here? Namo Amitabha. Fei Yuzhen unconsciously put his hands together and replied with a smile, Hello, I am Tiandao Fei Yuzhen, summoned by the Lord, and I come to pay my respects. Sir, you are very extraordinary. Bai Minjiahu Xingmei almost blurted it out. After all, he couldn't see and relied on his perception to understand the outside world. It was the first time he met someone who could resonate with him. He could feel that the person in front of him was not very strong, but only for now, and maybe he could surpass himself in the future. Thank you for the compliment. We are all born to kill the evil demons in the world. Although Fei Yuzhen's voice was immature, the power contained in his words was not weak at all. Kill the evil spirits. Hearing this, Xingming burst into tears unconsciously. The rock pillar, Bai Mei Yukame. He introduced himself directly. The 2 strongest fighters of the Demon Slayer Corps in the future met each other. Just then, the door of the mansion opened, and Yubayashiki Amina stood at the door with a gentle smile. Please come to the yard, both of you. Mr. Amina, congratulations. It's the breath of new life, Wuo. Bai Meishu Yukame clasped his hands together, moved to tears. Hello, I. Amina was shocked, and a touch of joy flashed in her eyes, but she immediately interrupted Toma's words, and her smile became even bigger. Makoto, can I call you that? That's what Senior Kawashima said. Oh. So we know each other, then I won't say much, hehe. The old man has already paved the way, so it's okay. Tianyan made a gesture of invitation, and the 2 followed into the yard. The moment they stepped into the yard, a relaxing voice sounded. It's Xingming and Zhen. The moment he heard this voice, Fei Yuzhen felt his head light and a feeling of submission arose in his heart. But it was only a moment, and he suppressed the strange feeling. Looking up at the pavilion not far away, the young man in white was sitting quietly, holding a calico cat in his arms. There is no doubt that this is the only succubus of the Demon Slayer Corps, the Lord who makes everyone die hard. Fei Yuzhen had to admit that Yubayashiki Yoya did have the temperament to become a leader. Lord. Baiming Island Xingming knelt on one knee, his tone very respectful. Fei Yuzhen slightly bent over and said with a smile, Lord, I am Tiandao. Tiandao Fei Yuzhen, I am looking forward to meeting you. Hearing is worse than meeting. Hello, I am the 97th head of the Demon Slayer Corps, Yubayashiki Yoya. Senior Kawashima said that you are more casual, so please just do as you please. If he hadn't known the plot well, Toma might have really been impressed by Yubayashiki Yoya. As the head of the Yubayashiki family and the head of the Demon Slayer Corps, he has a noble status, but he is not arrogant. He treats people gently and does not have the arrogance of a superior at all. Since the boss has spoken, I will just do as I please. What do you want me to do? Yubayashiki Yoya smiled and replied, I have been looking forward to meeting you for a long time, that's all. Toma? I just want to see him. What did my old man say to Yaya? Is it because I am too handsome? Or is it because I am too talented? Just when Fiiyu was daydreaming, Yubayashiki Yaya came towards him. Chapter 19. Yubayashiki Yoya held the little three-flowered cat and stood quietly in front of Fiiyu Chen with a grateful smile. Damn it! Fiiyu Chen was confused. Yoya is not a man-woman person, right? I just admire you and want to be friends with you, not passionate. Zhen, thank you for your heart to protect the people around you, don't force yourself too much. Yoya's mouth corners slightly raised, and the bright smile shone into Fiiyu Chen's heart like a ray of morning sun. As soon as he finished speaking, Fiiyu Chen's body trembled slightly, and a stormy wave rose in his heart, and his golden eyes became brighter. Yubayashiki Yoya didn't know what a time traveler was, let alone what it meant to hold a script in hand. But he saw a strong desire to protect in Fiiyu Chen's eyes, whether he was looking at Xingming, Tianyan, or himself. That was an emotion that Fiiyu Chen himself could not realize. The eyes are the windows of the soul, and the meaning of protection comes from the heart. This is Yoya's most powerful talent, the power of empathy. This is the breathing method of the demon slayer core succubus, the breathing of the heart. Whether he is approachable or the voice that relaxes people's hearts, these are insignificant points about him. Yoya's empathy is the most dazzling point. He can remember the name of every demon slayer core swordsman and can accurately say what the swordsman thinks. It is a kind of recognition. People who understand each other can always resonate. Boss, the evil ghosts are not destroyed, and this body will fall into hell forever. Fiiyu Chen half knelt down. This was his recognition of Yubayashiki Yoya, but only this time. Because he said another self that Fiiyu Chen himself had never noticed. If he wants to change the direction of the story, he must protect the people around him. The ending of the story is decided by me. This is what his heart desires. Zhen, I told you to just do whatever you want. And Xingming, this is the kitten you asked me to find, here. Yaya helped Fiiyu Chen up and put the kitten in Xingming's arms. Thank you, my lord. This child is furry. I like it very much. Namo Amitabha. The moment he held the little calico cat, Bai Minjiahu Xingming was moved to tears, and his breath became like spring flowers. Especially the cat in his arms, not only was it not afraid of Xingming, the muscular man, but it made a humming sound. Meow meow meow. The calico cat licked Xingming's arm, which was thicker than the mouth of a bull, and then rubbed it on it. For a moment, Fiiyu Chen felt that his worldview collapsed. He knew that Xingming liked cats, but what was wrong with this inexplicably cute picture? Imagine a tough guy who is nearly 2 meters tall holding a cute cat and wanting to cuddle. I can't open my eyes. You are shocked? Yaya smiled slightly. He was also a little shocked when he saw Xingming like this for the first time. Indeed, this is called contrast. Fiiyu Chen nodded and complained stupidly. Lord, please give this child a name. Xingming of Baiming Island returned to normal and said seriously. Then let's call it vegetable rice. Yubayashiki Yaya answered without hesitation. The name is Xingming's favorite food. Thank you, Lord. Xingming was overjoyed, and his admiration for the Lord in his heart was like a surging river. Brother Ming, can I call you that? After all, you are much older than me, and I am just a little brother. Lord said, Tiandao, you can do whatever you want. Xingming didn't care about the name given to him by others, but Fiiyu Chen called him like that, which made him feel closer. Then Brother Ming, I want to see you practice rock breathing, I want to learn it. Fei Yuzhen stated his purpose, he wanted to learn all 5 basic breathing methods. As for the next step, we will know later. As a sword genius, he will eventually comprehend something of his own. Tiandao, aren't you a disciple of Senior Kyudao? It's difficult to learn 2 breathing methods at the same time, just specialize in one, Namo Amitabha. Xingming gave his advice sincerely. Fei Yuzhen knew that the other party would say this, and then he said confidently, Brother Ming, you only need to demonstrate it once, I can learn it. If I can't do it, I will give up naturally. Fei Yuzhen's words are full of unparalleled confidence, which is not only reflected in every word he said, but also in his strong self-confidence emanating from the bottom of his heart. Okay, but not here, follow me to where I practice. Xingming did not refuse, or he wanted to know where the self-confidence came from. Yubayashiki Yoya listened to the conversation between the two, and he suddenly remembered what Senior Kawashima said about his apprentice. Born for the sword. That's right, Kawashima Grandpa Deo only had these 4 words to describe his apprentice. I'll go with you, I want to witness it. After a while, Xing Ming led a few people to a waterfall. Under the waterfall was a turbulent stream, with neatly cut logs and round boulders as high as a person on both sides of the stream. Ah, this Sigma. It is worthy of being the strongest physical body, and the rock pillar training method is more fierce than torture. Xing Ming tied a bell to Kafan intimately, settled it, and picked up his sun wheel sword. It was a broad axe and meteor hammer connected by a long chain, and it was murderous just by looking at it. My lord and Lord Tianyan, please stay away from me, Xing Ming said to the couple of Yubayashiki who were more than 10 meters away from him. The two retreated another 10 meters, and Xing Ming was relieved. As for Fei Yuzhen, he was very close to him, only about 10 meters away. He stared at Xing Ming intently, not daring to slack off. Everything was ready. Xing Ming put his hands together and bowed to the few people. Excuse me. Rock breathing type I serpentine rock bipolar. As the powerful voice sounded, the broadsword and the broad axe collided, and for a moment, the breath as fast as the wind swept towards Fei Yuzhen. This breath was like a violent storm, with unparalleled power and might, making it difficult for Fei Yuzhen to breathe. His heart was shocked. Is this the strongest of the Demon Slayer Corps, even if he is not at the peak? In an instant, the golden eyes became hot and the blood boiled. Xing Ming of Baiming Island was like a giant bear, with strong muscles tightening and loosening, like a tangled dragon, full of power. The broad axe and the meteor hammer intertwined with each other, making crisp sounds, like a wonderful percussion performance. Type 2, Shattered Sky. Type 3, Rock Body Skin. Type 4, Rhyolite, Speedy Expedition. Type V, Tile Wheel Cubu. Xing Ming of Baiming Island used one move after another. Since Fei Yuchen wanted to learn, he did it without reservation, not to mention that the other party also made bold statements. In Fei Yuchen's eyes, Xing Ming was a musician, and rock breathing was his instrument. The sound of the weapons hitting excited him, as if all the cells in his body came alive, and he entered a state of excitement. The last time he did this was when the old man performed thunder breathing. In the quiet valley, rock breathing was like an exciting symphony, constantly echoing, making Fei Yuchen intoxicated. Chapter 20. Every move of rock breathing seemed to be engraved in Fei Yuzhen's mind. He himself didn't know why. This was born for the sword. According to the proficiency of rock breathing of Bai Minjiahu's Xing Ming, the sword skills that should have taken 1 minute to demonstrate took him 5 minutes. This can be regarded as taking care of the young Fei Yuzhen. Tian Dao, it's over. Xing Ming closed his posture, put his hands together, the chain wrapped around his arms, and the broad axe and meteor hammer naturally fell on both sides. Fei Yuzhen nodded, and saw him close his eyes, take a deep breath, and everything around him slowly returned to calm. He was going to respond to Bai Minjia Xing Ming's expectations. He held the hilt of the sword with his right hand and adjusted his breathing. The 3 foundations of a swordsman are heart, body, and skills. Heart is the state of mind, which is either obtained through long-term practice or innate. Body is the physical strength. In addition to people with talents like Ganluo Temple Mitsurai, what is needed is acquired efforts, like Bai Minjiahu's Xing Ming. Skills are techniques, and for swordsmen, they are breathing methods, which are the combination of breathing and sword skills. Fei Yuchen has mastered all the skills. Observing the rock breathing of Gyumei on the Island of Sadness, he is familiar with the breathing rhythm and sword skills. With countless rehearsals in his mind, the sword comes out easily and the momentum rises with the sword. 3 minutes later, Fei Yuchen sheathed the sword. As he said, observing once is enough. Excuse me. He bent down slightly, raised his lips and smiled, confident but not arrogant. Yubayashiki Kakia didn't understand sword skills. He only felt that what Zhen and Gyumei had just demonstrated was slightly different, and the rest looked similar. Tiandao, you are really a genius. Namo Amitabha. Gyumei exclaimed. Although he couldn't see it, he was the most proficient person in rock breathing in the Demon Slayer Corps, and he didn't need to deliberately feel that breath. In an instant, his tears flowed like a spring, the corners of his mouth rose, and his expression combination was very strange. It's a pity that you are the disciple of Senior Kawashima, otherwise I would definitely accept you as my stepson. My lord, given time, Tiandao will definitely stand as the strongest of this generation, and I am not as good as him. Bai Minjiahu Xingmei gave Fei Yuchen the highest evaluation, and was even more happy in his heart. The stronger the demon slayer core is, the sooner they can understand the evil ghosts. Fei Chen scratched his head, and then shamelessly accepted Xing Mei's praise. Brother Ming, sooner or later, I will be able to fight side by side with you, wait for me. Ha ha ha. I am the number one genius of the Demon Slayer Corps. Makoto, thank you for coming to my side. Yubayashiki Yoya ran over to give Fei Chen a hug with tears in his eyes. In fact, Yoya was under great pressure. Since his father died, the Demon Slayer Corps has been passed to his generation, and its strength has weakened to an unimaginable level. There are only 2 pillar-level swordsmen, Rengoku Makijiro and Baiminjaihu Xingmei. The talent shown by Toma made him see the future. Toma smiled brightly, patted Yaya on the back and said, "No problem, leave it to me." 1 month later, Rengoku family. Of course, Rengoku family can be renamed Rengoku Kindergarten, there are too many children here. The headmaster, Uncle Makijiro, the beautiful teacher, Aunt Liuhuo, the members of the big class are Toma, Obanai, Kyojuro, and Koko Kane, the member of the middle class is Koko Shinobu, and the member of the small class is Chihiro who is still running a nose. Of course, usually only Toma lives there for a long time, the butterfly sisters live in the medical department, and Obanai is learning from the water call trainer. Makoto, is it enough? Ruhuo looked at Toma's special bowl for eating, which was half empty, and asked with concern. She smiled kindly, as if she was looking at her own son. Aunt Huo, burp, really full. Toma burped, after all, there is a kind of hunger in the world that your mother thinks you are hungry. Mom, hug me. Chihiro ran to his mother with a bowl in his arms, blinking his big eyes. Aunt Huo, I'm done, bye. Obanai put the dishes and chopsticks on the table, glanced at Ruhuo, and left. Apart from eating and sleeping, he only had training in his eyes, so that he could stand next to Toma one day. After dinner, the butterfly sisters helped Ruhuo clean up the dishes and chopsticks, and then went to learn the breathing method as well. In the small courtyard, Toma and Kyojuro were fighting with wooden swords. Because of him, Makijiro taught his son the breathing method in advance. It may be because the principal of the Purgatory Kindergarten heard about Toma from Gyumei of Baiming Island. For the past month, Toma has been using the breathing of the rock. He is integrating it, and it will become his own thing in time. Makoto, hit me hard. Kyojuro was having a great time, and the speed of the wooden sword became faster and faster. Toma had a complicated expression. It was strange to hear this from his eldest brother. We are practicing against each other, under the eaves. Chihiro was lying in his mother's arms. As a small Rengoku Makijiro, he had more of his mother's tenderness. In addition, he was loved by 3 brothers and 2 sisters. As the only student in the small class of the Rengoku Kindergarten, it was not an exaggeration to say that he was loved by everyone. Mom, when I grow up, I want to be like my big brother and big brother Kazuma. Chihiro clenched his tender fists and said in a baby voice. Ruhuo rubbed his little son's head and said gently, then Chihiro must work hard. Yet. Chihiro nodded like a chicken pecking at rice, and he raised a fist high. Omega, equals 33. Just then, a hearty voice sounded. I'm back, ha ha ha. The door of the Rengoku family was pushed open, and the principal of the Rengoku Kindergarten, who was often absent, came back. Makijiro brought a lot of bags, including food, toys, and medical books that Butterfly Sisters wanted. Unconsciously, the hot uncle had more delicate thoughts and became a qualified kindergarten principal. The principal first rubbed the heads of Shin and Kyojuro who were fighting into bird nests, then picked up Chihiro, a classmate in the junior class, and finally sprinkled dog food in front of a bunch of little kids and kissed his wife. Uncle, can I learn the breath of fire from you? Fei Chen looked at the principal with expectation, and his sword had been thirsty for a long time. Have you mastered the breathing of rock? Makijiro took out a letter from his arms and asked, by the way, this is a letter from your master. Toma took the letter and patted his chest and said, it's okay, it's no problem to kill demons. Okay, I know you are a genius. Anyway, I have a day off this time, so I will show you. For Toma, the stronger the person who demonstrates the breathing method, the more he can learn the essence, because pillars like Rengoku Makijiro are familiar enough with their breathing. So, the Rengoku Kindergarten senior class started. Makijiro's demonstration lasted for 20 minutes this time. It can be said that he broke it down and taught it to Toma. As Yubayashiki Yoya said, the Demon Slayer Corps needs such a genius, and he had asked Makijiro for it a long time ago. But even if the Lord doesn't ask, Makijiro will definitely teach it with all his strength.